diaper right now, only because I've had a long day, and it was suggested to me by...
I did call your husband earlier, and I said, if he needs changing, you need to come in and sort it out.
Right. I worked with a comedian years ago who did cruise ships, and those shows sometimes are 4 or 5 hours long, and you're drinking, and he suggested a diaper, and it saved my life. And my career.
Outrageous. We're just going to quickly fit this next one in. We're in the Times now with some advice for dealing with relatives at Christmas. You have already covered this tonight, Scott, but what does this one say? Oh,
this is about kids and how to make them feel comfortable at the table during the holidays. Because kids, they're antsy, they're restless, you know, and it's saying, don't bring up, please do not bring up, you're trying to be cool and groovy as a parent, do not ask them about their relationships, awkward, crunchy, or their future career prospects, because they don't have any, because they're kids and they don't care.
Talk to teenagers.
Again,
they're
lock them in the closet.
It
says Skills for Life. It's a book, a survey, 1,500 teenagers. It was a campaign by the Department of Education to raise awareness.
Scott, I'm so sorry. Don't cut people off at Christmas. The show is nearly over.
You promised me you'd squeeze it in.
Let's take another quick look at tomorrow's front pages.
You said we'd squeeze it in.
Let's take a final look at tomorrow's front pages. Sorry, Express, King positive about return to full duties. The Eye has UK's worst rail films cancelling 80 trains a day ahead of Travel Getaway. The Daily Mail has carnage at Christmas market. The Telegraph has the IVF pioneer secret sperm donors and families torn apart. The Times has boom in weight loss jabs, and the Daily Star has, well, this is awkward, isn't it? That's it for tonight's show. Thank you to my guests, Kerry and Scott. Steve and Alan will be here tomorrow at 11 p.m, joined by Lewis Schaefer and Adam Kumas. And if you're watching at 5 a.m, please stay tuned for breakfast. Good night.
Dream Team.
Bye-bye.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there. If you've got travel plans over the weekend, it's worth staying in touch with the weather conditions because it is turning increasingly windy, especially in the north and the west. That wind coming from the northwest will make it feel colder, with some wintry showers by Sunday morning. We do have a spell of rain and gusty winds clearing through during the evening. Then a gap between weather systems, clear spells for England and Wales later evening, but overnight that gap is squeezed out by arriving cloud from the west and spells of wet and windy weather pushing into Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England and Wales by dawn. That, of course, will make it feel mild as we start off Saturday in the far northwest. In the south and southeast, clear spells will mean that it's going to be a touch colder, likewise for northeast Scotland. But we do have a lot of cloud first thing. The wind's picking up strength. Outbreaks of rain are moving through much of England and Wales. Brighter skies for Scotland and Northern Ireland, but here the strongest winds arrive after the cloud clears and a lot of showers. These showers moving in thick and fast across central and western Scotland as well as Northern Ireland. Heavy at times and perhaps with some sleet and snow mixed in over hills later on into the afternoon. The wind will pick up through the day, peaking during the morning and into the afternoon for northern and western Scotland. The risk for the far northwest of wind gusts of 80 miles an hour or more. Elsewhere across northern UK, we can expect 50 to 60 mile/hour winds. So the potential for transport disruption, and that risk continues into Sunday with the wind continuing to be strong all the way across northern and western parts of the UK. In addition to that, we've got showers, and first thing, don't be surprised if you see a few flakes of snow mixed in with those showers, even at lower levels across the Midlands, Northern England and Wales, but they'll turn back to rain later. Much milder weather arrives for Christmas and some rain in the north.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Christmas market carnage.
At least 2 dead and 68 injured after a car is driven at speed into a crowd in a German Christmas market.
The suspect is believed to be a 50-year-old Saudi Arabian doctor and has been arrested. Mark White has the latest.
Well, German authorities have confirmed that a young child is among those who've died. Politicians in Germany and beyond have condemned this as a cowardly and brutal attack.
So Keir Starmer has nominated his former Chief of Staff Sue Gray for a peerage. He's also put forward 30 people to join the House of Lords as Labour seeks to address what it calls a serious imbalance in the second chamber.
It's the final day for pensioners to apply for pension credit in order to receive this year's winter fuel payment, following the government's announcement to means test that payment.
Today is set to be the busiest shopping day of the year as shoppers take to the high streets for last-minute Christmas bargains.
King Charles jokes I'm still alive on his last engagement before Christmas. And this comes as aides insist there's been no change to his condition and his cancer treatment is moving in a positive direction.
And new data shows at least 1 in 4 NHS trusts has upped parking charges in the 2 years to March.
Meanwhile, it's winter solstice today, the shortest day and the longest night of the year in the Northern Hemisphere.
Good morning. It's all about Fight Night Fury versus Usyk 2 from the Kingdom Arena in Riyadh in front of a global TV audience of more than 500 million. But will it be Tyson Fury or Tyson Fury? A row has broken out over the former heavyweight champion's beard. We'll reveal all later this hour.
Hello, good morning. Very unsettled for the last weekend before Christmas. We've got very strong winds, particularly around northwestern coasts, and also some rain and showers. I'll be here with all the details.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Christopher Hope.
And I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast. Yeah, it's going to be a busy day today. Are you going away? Are you actually going to get behind the wheel and try and drive anywhere today?
Not today. It's a big weekend for parties.
Yeah, well,
I'll be off with my family in parties.
Oh, you've got a family party?
Oh, yes, yes. We're
lovely.
driving around London today. No trains on the Thames Link today. For a week, no trains on the train.
That's a really good day for it, isn't it?
Happy
the busiest
Christmas.
day. Yeah. What about this beard?
Mine? No. Tyson Fury, yeah, look, I mean, I don't know whether it's gamesmanship or whether it's Alexander Usyk trying to create trouble on Fight Night when there isn't anything there, but fundamentally, the problem is Tyson Fury's beard. They're saying that, and he's backed up by the authorities here, that for two reasons it could be a problem tonight. Now, he's grown it to probably a length that we haven't seen previously.
Yeah.
Which
Usyk
makes
saying,
it a bit of a... It could catch.
Well, it's not so much catching because the gloves are fairly ovular.
Yeah.
But circular, and so there's nothing to catch on. The issue here is two things, really. One is that Usyk feels that Tyson Fury could get an unfair advantage by cushioning the blow of the punches.
Oh.
And nice action.
Yeah, and, just imagining it.
And secondly, there could be a health risk because if Usyk is exposed to a cut, and a bit like rubbing a Brillo pad into a wound, it could harm the opponent. So there's a safety issue there as well. We're speaking to Frank Warren later this morning, so we should be able to get some insight from him.
It's not often that beards become an advantage. I know in rugby, in the scrum, the forwards have beards, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
To rub up against the face of the opponent.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not really an issue.
Not really, no. I mean,
It's against the rules to grab your opponent by the beard.
I would have thought that would be. But I mean, look, it's some would say that the cynic in me might suggest that Usyk doesn't really see this as a problem at all. It's not going to stop his punches getting through, and that maybe it's causing a bit of mischief on Fight Night.
Which they do.
Yeah, of course they do. I know there are lots of other things surrounding this fight as well. It's going to be a huge fight tonight, huge event this evening.
And it's quite rare Christmas time for a big boxing bout.
We were just saying off air, weren't we? I mean, Anne and I discussed it last week. Why hasn't boxing happened at this time of year previously? There have been fights before, but none of this quite of this magnitude. And why not?
For a TV audience of 500 million.
I know, worldwide,
It's even us.
Yeah.
That's quite hard, but yeah.
That's just a breakfast show.
Yeah.
But no, 20 million illegal streams as well around the world. So, you know, that's a problem for DAZN, the people who are putting the fight on. But as I say, huge event this evening. And Stephen even mischievously suggested last week that maybe boxing could happen on Boxing Day, couldn't it? I mean, why hasn't it happened?
Yeah.
Why hasn't it happened previously? Yeah. So we'll have all the build-up throughout the morning, but huge event tonight is dwarfing everything else in the sporting world right now.
Goodness.
And talking of Stephen, he's putting his feet up somewhere, and it's lovely to work with you again, Chris.
Yes. It's an honour to be here with you, Anne.
No, and we didn't plan it, but we're all a bit colour coordinated.
Aren't we? We're in
blue today.
Yes.
We're not making any sort of political statement whatsoever, just in case you're wondering. Because
it's not Blue Monday, it's a happy Saturday.
Yeah, although, I mean, the big news this morning is just, you know, when you feel, when you're saying good morning, you think it's difficult to say it, isn't it?
Well, in homes across the country, they're getting ready for Christmas. It is an optimistic time, but look at Germany.
I know, and I've been speaking to so many people just on my way in, people who work here and everything, particularly people who are parents, because it's the sort of thing you love to take the kids to at Christmas market, isn't it? And if you get the chance to ever go to one of the big German ones, I mean, they do it so
fantastic.
well.
I went to one in Cologne.
It's such a day out, or an evening out.
Budapest I've done as well, actually.
Yeah.
And in Birmingham, there's the Frankfurt Christmas market.
Yes, you see, I've never heard of this. It's called the Frankfurt Christmas market. It's in Birmingham.
Yeah, I was there when it was being set up in October, and it is extraordinary. It's big. And it feels, like, and you get the spirit of Christmas, and I think there's that sense of it.
I should know that, being a Brummie.
Yeah, a new thing, probably. I'm not sure whether Frankfurt have a Birmingham Christmas market.
I haven't been back. Well, I doubt they do somehow.
You doubt they do?
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to talk about today is the family doctor. Because Wes Streeting has pledged, it's all over the front page of the Mirror. Oh, there, yeah. The return of the family doctor. And don't you think that would be a splendid thing? Because there's no doubt... Oops, all bits are falling out. There's no doubt that I think so many of us feel that we don't have that anymore. We might have a local surgery, but do you ever get to see the same doctor twice? But certainly the concept of the family doctor, I remember... when I was a child, if you felt ill, my mum, and you were properly ill, my mum would always say, don't worry about it because Dr. Elliot will be round this afternoon.
Yes, and Dr. Innes for me.
Yeah, oh, you can remember the name.
It's come back to me now. You have one too?
Dr. Singh, yeah, we were talking this morning. My parents ran care homes, that was their business, and so their relationship with the GP was extremely important. But Dr. Singh had a very famous saying in our family, because we suffered from hiatus hernia throughout generations. He said, no worry, no hurry, and no curry.
Probably very wise words.
I know, yeah, exactly.
But nowadays you're asked who your doctor is, aren't you, by the system? And often we don't know. You don't know nowadays, do you? That's what Wes Streeting's addressing.
I mean, I know the name of the doctor who's the head of the surgery, and so I put her name in. But I haven't seen her in years. I always want to, but never get the chance to because she's presumably always too busy.
A 40-minute appointment the other week. I mean, I didn't. 40? Yeah, I didn't specify a doctor, and I think I benefited from the fact that I was in there at 8:30, and you know, I've hearing people saying that the maximum they get anywhere else around London is 10 minutes. I feel quite lucky. Yeah. And I trust in the GPs there. I mean, I know people like familiarity, but I trust in. There's probably like 15 you can choose from. I said no, give us any. It's more important to have the appointment than the actual individual.
Well, do you like me welcome the idea that if we could possibly get the family doctor back? And do you have any memories of yours? Do you remember the name of your family doctor and what they were like? Dr. Elliot, who we had, was very, very tall. I don't know whether it was just because I was a kid, but I mean, he looked about 6'10" when but he always came around. He was always kindly.
Came to your house?
Yeah, he did. And he knew you. He knew your history. He knew the family history. He didn't have to look it up on a computer. He knew it.
And his writing was dreadful.
Yes, the writing was always bad. Yeah, absolutely. What do you remember of your family doctor? And do you think Wes Streeting can do it? I mean, that is a big
He's got
ask.
22 billion pounds of our money to do it.
I think he has some great ideas, Wes Streeting, but can he actually do it?
Let's wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go on to the big news story, of course, that's dominating the news. And it's that 2 people we now know have been killed. Almost 70, though, are injured after a car drove into crowds at a German Christmas market last night.
That's right. The suspected attacker arrested at the scene is believed to be a 50-year-old doctor from Saudi Arabia.
Images and video circulating online. Too awful, I'm afraid, too awful to show you on air. Show a car being driven at really high speed right into the Christmas market, right through people. Yeah. And the vehicle appearing not to slow down. In fact, it looks so fast, you wonder how anyone nearby could have possibly survived.
Joining us now is GB News' Home and Security Editor, Mark White.
Hi there, Mark.
Good morning.
Good morning. The story has changed.
Very good morning to you. It was just after... Sorry.
Yeah, no, go on. I was going to say there was still a lot of speculation last night about who it was and what the possible motive could have been. What's the very latest? Because the story has rather changed, hasn't it?
Well, to an extent, yes. The individual who was arrested by police shortly after this attack took place in the Christmas market in the centre of Magdeburg is a 50-year-old man, originally from Saudi Arabia. He came to Germany, first of all, in 2006. And astonishingly, of course, he was also a doctor working in one of the area hospitals. Now, of course, attention, as it always does, turns to motivation. Was this a terrorist attack? Was it not a terrorist attack? What we can see, and it's very clear from the political leaders in Germany and around the world with the comments that they are saying, and from what we've witnessed ourselves, looking at that video that you quite rightly say, Anne, is too horrific actually to show on air. It's very obvious this was a deliberate ramming attack. Now, whatever the sick motivation that forced an individual to get behind the wheel of a car and to drive it at such high speed into this Christmas market and to continue through at high speed for hundreds of metres along this Christmas market, scattering bodies as it went. We don't know at this stage, quite frankly. There are reports that this individual may actually have been anti-Islamist in his views. But as I say, whatever the twisted motivation and logic was behind this event, it's clear from everything we've been told that this was a deliberate attack targeting some of society's most vulnerable, young children, a young child confirmed among the dead, and of course many people, up to almost 70 it appears at this stage, that have been injured. And you know, when the German authorities are back and functioning again in terms of their press operation today, I'm sure we'll get an update on those figures coming out. But truly awful event. You were saying before you came to me about this proud tradition, of course, that the Germans have about, you know, over Christmas markets. It really is. They are so incredibly proud and nostalgic about their Christmas markets and attend these events in very significant numbers. There were many hundreds of people at the Magdeburg Christmas market when this attack took place.
OK, Mark, we'll leave that there and join you a bit later on. We're now joined, I think, by journalist Rob Hyde from Germany. Hello there, Rob. We've been reading your article in this morning's Telegraph. You quote Bild, the German newspaper, as saying it was indeed a terrorist incident. Is that what the police are saying now?
It is what the authorities have said. It's also been the case that the mayor of Magdeburg had also referred to it as an attack, and then later on it was confirmed by police that it was a terror attack. There have been some questions regarding Bild, because Bild initially had reported that there were 11 people who had died, and then, as you've rightly said, the official deaths so far have been announced as being an adult and a young child. So there were some questions there, but yeah, it's an ongoing situation, and it's still kind of developing and breaking.
Yeah, Robin, and it is shocking. I'm looking at the political reaction here. Olaf Scholz, the German Chancellor, his thoughts are with the victims and families. And in Britain, of course, Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, saying his thoughts are with the victims' families and those affected. And we stand with the people of Germany. And, of course, it's particularly in Germany, we're looking into an election period, aren't we?
That's right. And it's a difficult one, because I think there was a knee-jerk reaction on social media to an extent of many people saying, "Oh, is this?" On one hand, you have that. However, as everyone is already talking about, of course, it's only in 2016 when we had the awful, horrific, murderous attack in Berlin at the Christmas market there, and there seem to have been similarities to that in terms of you had a vehicle. In this case, it was this black BMW, a rented BMW, which ploughed 400 meters into the crowd and also resulted in deaths. And if you then just move away from that and just focus even just this year, there have also been an awful lot of issues and incidents related to Christmas markets in Germany, which haven't really got that much attention in, for example, the foreign media. So, for example, down in Augsburg in December this month, there was a 37-year-old Iraqi national who was allegedly financing terrorism, and he was scouting around the Christmas market, taking photos. He was sharing Islamic State propaganda. Just the month before, in November, there was a 17-year-old German-Turkish national apprehended, and that was at the other end of the country in Elmshorn in Schleswig-Holstein in the north, and he was allegedly planning a truck attack inspired by the 2016 Berlin market tragedy. We've also had cases in November this year in Mannheim and Frankfurt where authorities uncovered a weapons cache, and they arrested 2 German Lebanese brothers also accused of plotting attacks on local Christmas markets. So quite rightly, everyone is now focused on this because it's horrific and horrendous. I'm here in Magdeburg myself. I've been to the scene, and it really is awful. But I do also think there's been a pattern which hasn't really got the coverage it arguably deserves.
Yes, and that's scary in itself. We'll leave it there, Rob. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. And as we say, the facts are sort of changing as we speak, that we're bringing you what is the very latest on that. And certainly there were a lot of weird rumours last night that have been proven not to be worth repeating now.
There's social media speculation that suspect held extreme anti-Islam views.
Yes.
And expressed fears about what he says, what he perceived apparently was the Islamisation of Germany, so completely counter to the previous attacks, which viewers might remember. It's particularly one in Berlin, of course, by IS back in 2016 that killed 13 people. So it's never straightforward, and we're not going to be quick to jump to conclusions here.
Absolutely, and I think since there has been this spate of them, and particularly they go for these Christmas markets, which are very much Christmassy family occasions. They're all about outdoor fun, really, aren't they? And you wonder why, in this case, why it should happen, because there doesn't appear to be an apparent motive, an obvious motive. And obviously we will be told more as and when the police discover it. We're joined right now by political commentator and, of course, the former mayor of Middlesbrough, Andy Preston. Andy, first of all, I know you'll want to give your initial comments on the terrible news overnight.
Morning, Anne. Morning, Chris. Hi. Yes, it's awful. I mean, it's clearly, initially, thoughts and prayers go for those who've lost loved ones. And I understand the death toll is maybe heading towards 15 over the course of the day. That's speculation. And I suppose that's a warning that there's so much speculation around at the moment, isn't there? The early signs are that this man has published material on X that is anti-Islamification. But I don't know when they were written, so we really need to wait and see. But my fear now is that this awful event will be seized on by some people to fuel a rise in tensions and fear and division. Now, the Christmas market event that's happened today, and as your previous guest was saying, there have been a number of incidents across Germany. I've been seeing for about 4 weeks now in the UK comments of people who've attended markets about the extraordinary level of armed police and security there. And it would appear, based on what we now know is happening and has happened in Germany, that this is about a perceived threat, an understanding that there were real risks. And it's a warning that we mustn't be too laid back and always be vigilant. And thank goodness that our police and secret services appear to be on top of this, and there have been no major incidents so far.
But I know that I think in Berlin, the famous Christmas market there and others have put up security barriers that no vehicle could plunge into the crowd. And you wonder why that wasn't done here. As somebody who's been mayor of a very large area, have you had to think about such things?
Yeah, absolutely. And very often, actually, councils are very clever now, Anne. What will happen is, in certain areas where there might be gatherings, where there are typically lots of people, you get street furniture put in. It can look like flower tubs and other things. And they are flower tubs, but what they're really there for is to stop vehicles gaining unauthorised access for malicious intent. So there are all kinds of clever barriers and safety measures that are put in place that the public don't realise. It's a very common thing. But of course, at the end of the day, Anne, if somebody wants to cause mayhem and endanger others, they will find a way to do it, one way or another, or one place or another. And I say again, I've been hearing for about 4 weeks about the intense security, the very visible armed security.
This is dying to ask you about.
Well, Andy, there's a lot happening, of course, in the UK, and today's a key day, isn't it, for people affected by the withdrawal of the winter fuel allowance. The deadline is today to apply for pension credit to qualify for winter fuel payment, and there's real concern here, isn't there, that it's complicated to apply, big forms for vulnerable people to fill in, and there may be millions, tens of thousands of people who may be missing out if they don't apply by today.
Absolutely. It's extraordinarily complex. And of course, the very people that the winter fuel allowance was taken from are the people who are often, not always, but often the least able to navigate around these things on their own. I mean, I'm terrible with forms, and goodness knows how someone even older than me manages to do stuff sometimes. So well done to the Lib Dems, by the way. I've been very critical of the Lib Dems for not standing up to the government and challenging them, but they have done in this case, and I'm asking for that extension.
Yeah,
obviously, it's sorry.
Well, yeah, and that may be the case that's required. What I do find anecdotally is people don't want necessarily to give all their financial information away to the state. People don't want to tell everybody all the time. The form is quite complicated, and it's quite... why are they doing this when it was previously a benefit which everyone received? Some gave it back, some gave it to charity, some used it to keep warm their homes, but the extra intrusive nature of the inquiries is often off-putting for people.
Absolutely, Chris. So my mother gets scam calls. People call her and pretend to be the bank or Vodafone or whatever services she uses. And she's become quite good, actually, at spotting which ones are the scammers. And we've all spoken to my mother about not giving out personal info. But now, of course, they have to do the opposite. So we're saying don't give out any personal information in a form or on the phone. But, of course, when you get these government forms, you have to tell them everything about yourself. So it's very, very difficult. I think that there's a dimension to this that isn't just about the fuel payment and the application. It's about pensioners feeling overlooked, abused, and actually pessimistic about the future and their lot in the world. And I think that's a theme that runs through the government at the moment, is that the country feels pessimistic and feels that the dour, begrudging tone of Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves is what's pushed us into what's almost certainly looking like a recession. The Bank of England took the step and talked about stagnation. I personally think a recession is inevitable. I'm sorry to be two-party political, if that's how it comes across right now, but I really think this is part of a bigger government failing and a personal failing of Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer, which is instilling a sense of pessimism and fear for the future.
It certainly doesn't feel like a terribly merry Christmas at the moment, does it? We're going to have to leave it there. It's really good to talk to you, though. Thank you very much indeed.
Now it's time for the weather with Honor Critic.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's the last weekend before Christmas and it is going to be fairly unsettled with rain and showers. Very strong winds at times, particularly across the far northwest where there is a yellow weather warning for wind in force. Across central and southern areas, quite cloudy as rain clears its way to the southeast. It is going to be clearer to the north of this, though plenty of blustery showers sweeping their way eastwards across the country. We could even see some hail and thunder mixed into these across northern areas and some snow mainly across hilly areas in Scotland. And those strong blustery northwesterly winds are really going to add on to the wind chill in the north, so feeling particularly chilly here, but largely mild in the south. Then to end the day on Saturday, still plenty of those blustery winds moving across coastal areas of Scotland, Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Still plenty of showers too, these still falling as snow across hills in Scotland, and fairly similar across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Still plenty of those blustery showers and those strong winds, particularly around coastal areas, but even inland, winds could still be fairly strong. A few showers around Wales and some outbreaks of rain just clearing the far south. So across the southeast, it should be largely dry to end the day on Saturday, but overnight we're going to see more and more of those showers move through across the country, still falling as snow across high ground in Scotland, perhaps also seeing some flurries of snow at times across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, and still very strong winds, that wind warning then extending across parts of Wales and the southwest by the time we reach Sunday morning. So a very blustery start to Sunday and feeling very chilly indeed in that brisk wind. Then through into Sunday, once again, another very unsettled day. It's going to be very windy across much of the country, particularly around western coast. Still plenty of these showers feeding through, merging into longer spells of rain at times across Scotland. Could also be heavy at times and still seeing that snow mainly across higher ground and feeling particularly cold in those brisk winds. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Yeah, one thing's for sure, it's probably the only thing to do is to hunker down under the duvet, if possible, and get through Christmas that way.
Right, still to come. Today is the busiest day of the shopping day of the year. We'll be telling you all about that next. This is GB News with me, Christopher Hope, and Anne Diamond.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight, every night from 11 p.m.
This is Miss Universe fans hailing the end of wokeness and crediting the Trump effect after a biological woman, there's still some of them around apparently, has won the 2024 crown. She's Miss Denmark, because obviously the last decade, you know, it's just been obese transgender smurfs from Papua New Guinea. They're the only people allowed to win any beauty contest, you know what I mean? You're not allowed to have any...
Some of the trans women have won these, you definitely wouldn't say no.
Honestly, I've seen some, but I've seen some of them that didn't, and some that, you know, were clearly just there out of, you know... Well,
have there been more than one trans woman who's won Miss? I didn't realise this.
Yeah.
Okay,
I've got a chart at home. This one isn't trans. Victoria Kjær-Thielvig, 21 of Denmark. Everything about that description says attractive.
Nazi. Okay, I have seen pictures of her. She is very attractive.
Yes.
She is.
Yes.
I don't know exactly how to put it, but she is kind of not retro or vintage or so. She's quite an old-fashioned notion of beauty, like just absolutely ice blue eyes, you know, absolutely extraordinary, clear skin and gorgeous blonde hair. I mean, it's absolutely kind of mid-70s, you know,
Well, apparently the sanity's returned to the beauty pageant industry, so they can get back to, you know, sexualising 4-year-olds and promoting anorexia like they used to. So
there is that,
She will earn an estimated $250,000 annual salary working full-time as Miss Universe, and will live in a luxurious New York City apartment as she carries out her duties, which involve glass coffee tables and rich Saudi businessmen.
Glass coffee tables. And visiting other planets and solar systems and constellations, I would imagine, in Miss Universe.
Being concerned about animals.
Yes, absolutely, and wanting to bring about world peace. I miss those days.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello again, it's GB News Breakfast here with me, Anne, and Christopher Hope this morning, which is great fun. In fact, he's got a present later on.
Yes, I'll
he's
show
hiding
all,
something.
Yes, after 8 o'clock.
Yeah, all right, OK. Now, today is going to be the busiest shopping day of the year. If you haven't already done your shopping, I would give up now. Just tell people that you were thinking of them. Anyway, busiest shopping day of the year in the UK and Ireland. That's according to the very latest analytics.
That's right. Last year, Brits spent nearly £5 billion between the 21st, that's today, and the 24th of December, which shows the boost in last-minute gift buying is increasing. But will Britain spend even more this year?
Well, we're joined now by retail expert Teresa Wickham. Have you done all your shopping, Teresa, or will you be joining the millions who are doing the last-minute panic buying?
No, I've done it all because I've got an invasion of young for the weekend and Christmas, so the presents had to be done quickly.
OK, confession time. Did you do the shopping online or did you actually get out there?
No, I did a mixture, and of course I looked for some of the things on Black Friday that I knew that what I wanted, and I think people are much more cautious about Black Friday now. They know what they go for. They're not conned into big things that they don't need.
Yes.
So that was interesting.
Have the sales started yet, Teresa? In the old days, the sales would sometimes start before Boxing Day, so you could actually get a bargain today if you went out.
That's it. And in fact, that almost since September, there have been offers on promotions, not the whole store, but you'll find in sort of big clothing retailers, there'll be 20% offered on certain items, maybe children's clothing, or it might be men's trousers. It might be something like that. So they do it as a gradual pattern over it. That's been quite a change, is the sort of promotion side. But people are still looking for a bargain. There's still people who will wait till Boxing Day and queue up on Oxford Street and go into the big store for the fun of it, and others that'll start shopping it online at on Christmas Eve. But today is the big day, and it's particularly relevant because Christmas is in the middle of the week. So a lot of offices have shut on Friday, and people want to go out. There's still a sense of excitement of shopping for Christmas presents, particularly if you go with your husband, your partner, or a friend, and as long as you don't have to do too much. And then food is the sort of panic rushes on Tuesday, particularly for the fresh produce. But a lot of people have ordered that online to be delivered.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you said it's exciting. I think people are balmy. I mean, you have a whole year. You know when Christmas is happening, don't you? Yeah. Why do we leave it until the last couple of days?
Oh, well, no, you have totally different people with consumers. There's a lot of people who start shopping for next year after Christmas, particularly buying Christmas paper and Christmas decorations and put them away in their attic. And then other people shop like I do throughout the year, you know, so you can stack up a few things and it spreads the cost.
Teresa, I've got a dreadful confession to make. I got my main present last night from my wife. My wife Sarah gave me a mattress topper.
Oh,
it was so big, and we couldn't take it away with us.
No, and she couldn't pretend it's a surprise.
And we had the best night's sleep ever last night, so I feel a bit guilty.
They are wonderful. They make a difference, don't they? Yeah.
Oh, they're fantastic. They transform your mattresses. It's interesting because people are buying more useful things.
Well, I wonder, do you think we're getting more practical as you get older? You think, I just don't want the, you know, that's a frivolous thing. I need a mop. Give me a mop for Christmas, I'll be happy. Do you think we get more practical?
If somebody gave me a mop for Christmas, I'd swipe them over the head with it.
Well, I think if you've ever had to clear out a relative's house this year, you suddenly realise how much people accumulate and you're thinking, oh, God, somebody will have to do it for me. But it's divided between buying things that people really want, useful, particularly technology, and experiences, much more experiences now. People give things to go away. And, of course, a lot of people have gone on holiday. Lots of people got away last night.
Well, the experience thing is very good for last-minuters as well, isn't it? Because now you can buy an experience, or the Science Museum sent me a thing last night because I sort of subscribed to their thing, and you can buy all sorts of experiences for them, and of course you just download the voucher and give it to somebody.
Yes.
Very good tip for if you're a real last-minuter. Teresa, it's good to talk to you. Stay inside in the warm, in front of the computer. Thanks very much indeed. I tell you what, though, if you leave it too much to the last minute, you end up paying more than you should, just because you're so panicky.
Yes, so beware panicking, because there are bargains after Christmas, but you've got to get through that period of not giving a present after Christmas, maybe.
Maybe buy somebody a chance to win £50,000, because it's a great British giveaway. It's the biggest ever, and all 50 grand is tax-free. It could be yours in the new year. Here's how to do it.
There's just 4 sleeps till Christmas, and all through the land, GB News has the chance to win a nifty 50 grand. That's cash for the new year. You could go on a spree. And the best thing about it, it's totally tax-free. From Santa with love, you could be our winner. Just enter right now, or right after Christmas dinner. It's a cracker of a prize, guaranteed to enthrall. From all of us at GB News, Merry Christmas to you all.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Still to come, Aidan McGee will be here to tell you all about tonight's blockbuster fight between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. That's next. This is GB News with me, Christopher Hope, and Anne Diamond.
Nana Queer, weekends from 3 p.m.
Today I am joined by documentary maker Daniel Wing, who is still trying to find out who murdered his mother 30 years on. He's also created a documentary called Who Murdered You, Mum? Daniel, can you just tell us the story of what happened to your mother, what you know?
So when I was 1 year old in 1992, my mum, Tina, was murdered. My dad went on trial for it and was acquitted, and the case went unsolved and has been unsolved for 32 years. My nan, who raised me, amazing woman, passed away sadly 2 years ago, and that kind of sent me on a quest for answers.
So your documentary then, what are you hoping to achieve with it?
I am fighting for justice for my mum. I have had a meeting with the police and they are looking to see what they have and are looking to reopen investigation if they can find new and compelling evidence. What's interesting now is speaking to other families who are actually going through the trauma and experience of murder.
Yeah.
My mum didn't get the opportunity to be a mum. What would my life have been? I'm now 33 years old with no parents. And it's that kind of thing. It's a very, I guess, lonely journey in what I'm experiencing. That's why I wanted to make this film, because I hadn't had the opportunity to be able to grieve my mother and know who she was. And that was really what this journey was about. It was about finding out who she was and being able to grieve. Everyone had the opportunity, although terrible circumstances, to be able to go to the funeral and have that moment, and I never had that opportunity.
The People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Queer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, you didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Aidan has joined us, and the big sporting story is, of course, the fight, which is tomorrow morning. Tomorrow overnight.
Yeah, I mean, we think provisionally it's penciled for 10 o'clock tonight, but the undercard always overruns. So I think it'll be about 11:30, depending on how quickly it goes. I mean, it could easily run into the early hours of the morning, no question about that. But it's certainly more palatable than if it was in Madison Square Garden in the States or something, because it means it's more accessible in terms of our timing. But it still will be a late finish for me.
So
I'll be a bit bleary-eyed tomorrow.
and Usyk too.
Yes, that's right. They fought back in the summer. It was a split decision that Usyk won. He wasn't the favourite going into it, but he's immensely skilled, and he took up the centre of the ring. And Tyson Fury made the fatal mistake of conceding that ground, and Usyk didn't really move. And as I say, it's about movement, dexterity, skill. That won the day. It was a split decision. No, a lot of people, including Tyson's manager, promoter Frank Warren, who's joining us later on this morning, he feels that the fight was closer than many people thought, and it gives us up for what Frank describes as a war this evening. A huge controversy around the beard as well. Yeah. We mentioned it at the top of the hour, didn't we? I've since learned his beard actually has been cleared by the boxing.
His beard has been cleared.
His beard has been cleared by boxing controllers, but Usyk's team said they want to push it further. Now that to me says surely it's gamesmanship. surely, because if the decision's been made, what mileages are in it?
For those who don't follow boxing, what's at stake, Aidan? Are there belts at stake
All
here?
the belts, it's undisputed, yeah.
So it's three, what are they calling the three belts?
The three belts, IBF, WBA, WBC.
So it's undisputed world champion fights now.
That's right, and we haven't had, I think when Usyk won it in the summer, he was the first fighter since Lennox Lewis, I think 30-odd years ago, to unify the belts at that level. So there's high stakes, and there's the money as well. I mean, look, we're talking about a £150 million purse here. We think, well, last time...
That's the winner of each boxer?
No, that's the purse, so the split hasn't been disclosed this time. We think Fury took away 85 million of that last time. I know.
Would you box for that money, Anne?
Well, I'd like to think I could, but I don't think I could.
Well, he's still the draw. This is the thing. I mean, we have seen this in sports before.
Well,
sometimes...
If anything gets 500 million viewers, then it makes money.
But it's
an
commensurate.
Enormous amount of money.
It's more than it's about 560, we think,
well,
and plus another 20 million on illegal streams. So, look, in terms of how it will go, I predicted Fury last time. This time I'm going to go for Usyk. But the weigh-in was crucial last night, and he stepped on the scales last night, Fury, with loads of clothes on, heavy leather jacket. He came in at over 20 stone, the heaviest he's ever been. That suggests to me that he's looking at getting in there and out there quickly, finishing it soon, because I don't think he can carry that weight for the duration of the fight. That's a hell of an ask.
OK, well, you can read anything into anything almost at the moment, can't you? I'm sorry to cut you short.
Don't worry.
We have to leave it there because we've got a lot to fit in. Of course, the newspapers as well coming. First of all, though, if you're in search of some winter sun this weekend, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Storm Dino so clears, but it remains often cloudy and sometimes windy around coastal areas, particularly for the Canary Islands and Madeira. A fairly strong northwesterly flow dragging in some cloud and some outbreaks of rain at times. Fairly settled across Portugal and Spain, but as we move further east, cloudy with some showers at times, particularly for Rome and at times parts of Greece. But it generally looks like it's improving by the time we reach the middle of the week, with the best of the temperatures across Madeira.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Now, on a slight change of pace this morning, a Christmas treat for you for my podcast, Chopper's Political Podcast. Here's former Attorney General Sir Geoffrey Cox reading Robert Frost's Stopping by Woods.
Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sound's the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. Oh, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I
sleep. What a wonderful poem. What a brilliant voice that man has got.
Something else, isn't it?
Don't go anywhere. The newspapers are next.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Britain's Royal Collection of Art is one of the most important and largest in the world. And it's also one of the last great European royal collections to remain intact. And built up over many centuries, it has extraordinary depth. And curators have delved into its riches to produce an exhibition of Italian drawings between 1450 and 1600. household names here. Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci. Some of the drawings are complete works in themselves. Some are studies for images that would appear in much larger pieces, and some are anatomical studies which enabled these artists to draw the human form in all its perfection.
This is the earliest drawing in the exhibition of around 1450, and it's made by Fra Angelico, the great Florentine painter. It may seem an obvious thing to say, but we only have drawings like this if they have survived. And these drawings were not seen at the time as works of art. They were workshop studies. They were as functional as a hammer or a paintbrush, if you like, in the workshop. But the fact that a drawing would survive from 1450 to the present day shows that first it was useful, and it was a work that would have been referred to constantly in the artist's studio, and only later was it valued by collectors as an exemplar of the artist's genius, if you like, the way in which we might think of it today. So a drawing like this, which is in almost perfect condition, has got a history of being valued for different reasons from when it was produced to the present.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
OK, let's go through the newspapers now with Kevin Schofield and Emma Wolfe, and it's lovely to see you both this lovely morning.
Good to see you.
Happy Christmas. Kevin, let's start with, in the Times, they're reporting on the boom, of course it is a boom, in the weight loss jabs, in the number of people taking it up.
Yeah, the numbers are absolutely incredible. I mean, I knew that these drugs are popular, but 500,000 adults are accessing these drugs now, mainly through online, which is potentially dangerous because they are, some of them are available on the NHS, but they're tightly controlled and rationed, basically. So the two main ones here, now, forgive my pronunciation, but one is called Mounjaro and the other is Wegovy.
Yeah,
Wegovy. But yeah, 95% of people are taking the drugs, are buying them online.
And the problem is that if you buy them online, if you're not being overseen by a doctor, you can take the wrong strength. I mean, you really need to build up on these things.
And then get quite ill.
Yeah, and then get very ill, yeah.
This is really dangerous.
And there are side effects. Social media as well.
There are side effects.
They are being pushed on social media. I've written about eating disorders for a decade. There are young women who are taking them who don't need to, who aren't morbidly obese, who aren't even overweight, who will be taking them just to lose a few more pounds. They are not being overseen. They're not being medically checked first. And also there are, people who think, oh, this is working, I'll take a bit more, and are then taking too much.
Yeah.
So I think this is really, really concerning.
It's an easy option, is it, rather than just dieting?
Well, I mean, I think it's a lifestyle change, isn't it? It's about, we all know, it's about long-term, sustainable, boring stuff, eating more healthily and moving more, doing more activity.
And I know people who have taken it, lost weight successfully, put it all back on again.
Put it all back on when they've stopped. So are we saying people should be on them for a lifetime? Is that safe? Is that a cost that we are willing to bear for the NHS? And is that the way we want society to be, that you eat yourself into a state where you are overweight and then or you become overweight for whatever reason and then you take jabs to sort it out? I mean, don't we need more long-term discussion about this?
Well, perhaps we need more advice from a family doctor because...
Well, as I was going to say, Wes Streeting is the one who has more or less embraced this idea of letting anyone who's overweight or obese take these jabs to get them back to work. Today he's also saying he's going to bring back the concept of the family doctor.
Yeah, so Wes Streeting is pledging about 900 million for local GP surgeries. He's going to try and end that 8 a.m. scramble where everyone in the whole world rings at 8 a.m. I mean, whoever thought that was a good idea to try and get an appointment that day? They're going to try and get the same doctor, the family doctor, to see the same patients, which would be a revelation. But really, at the moment, you struggle to get an appointment, let alone seeing a named doctor. You just
so do you think he can do it? Is money going to make the difference?
I don't understand how he's pledging to make these changes, apart from just a bit more money to GPs.
Do you know who your doctor is? Do you have a name?
Well, I have a named doctor, and I don't think I've seen her for months and months and months.
Did you ever have a family
When I was a child, and I think we have the same one. When I was a child, we had the same doctor, the family doctor, who knew all of my family, knew my parents, would come out if there was a poorly child in the family, would come at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, we had one as well. Yeah,
what was their name? Do you remember?
Yes, I do. Dr. Jill Yudkin.
Yeah.
An amazing doctor in North London.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dr. Briggs.
Dr. Briggs.
Was mine. I still remember, big bushy beard. But yeah, it was the guy, every time I went to the doctor, it was the same family doctor every single time. But these are the type of things that West Streeton is going to be judged on. Big promises like this. People being able to see a GP, it's a tangible benefit if they can do it.
He's got the money. He's got £22 billion. Although GPs are laying off staff because of the national insurance increase.
Well, exactly.
So you've got this problem. They're laying off back office staff because of the national insurance employers increase, and he's got $22 billion. I mean, it's a big challenge for him.
Well, it might end up exacerbating the problems. On the one hand, here's the money there, but actually taking the money out the back through
He thinks he can do it. I just wonder, do you think he can do it, Chris?
I think it's a real. I think the problem is
promises.
they don't control GPs the way the contract's based. They're their own laws themselves.
Well, they're effectively a private practice.
That's the problem they've got.
And when you read the detail of it, it's basically they're incentivising. If you hit such and such a target, they're removing some targets, replacing them with more targets.
Weird things like the more cases of high blood pressure that you diagnose, the more cash you get. So it's a weird sort of incentivisation. At the same time, they're removing targets and slashing red tape.
That's what they say.
Do you remember your family GP?
Yeah, Dr. Innes.
Dr. Innes, is it?
But it's like the old Bobby on the beat, the diction of Dr. I think in politics you go back to this halcyon time when you remember their names.
Yes, it's a lovely pink rosy time, isn't it?
But it does matter. When you have a family doctor, they know the family's history. I think they probably pick up cases of social problems as well when you know a history. You don't spend that time talking to your doctor while they tap into a screen.
Well, look, we haven't got time for any more, but we'll make time in the next hour. We really will. That's a promise. Right now, here's your Christmas week weather.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's the last weekend before Christmas and it is going to be fairly unsettled with rain and showers. Very strong winds at times, particularly across the far northwest where there is a yellow weather warning for wind in force. Across central and southern areas, quite cloudy as rain clears its way to the southeast. It is going to be clearer to the north of this, though plenty of blustery showers sweeping their way eastwards across the country. We could even see some hail and thunder mixed into these across northern areas and some snow mainly across hilly areas in Scotland. And those strong blustery northwesterly winds are really going to add on to the wind chill in the north, so feeling particularly chilly here, but largely mild in the south. Then to end the day on Saturday, still plenty of those blustery winds moving across coastal areas of Scotland, Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Still plenty of showers too, these still falling as snow across hills in Scotland, and fairly similar across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Still plenty of those blustery showers and those strong winds, particularly around coastal areas, but even inland, winds could still be fairly strong. A few showers around Wales and some outbreaks of rain just clearing the far south. So across the southeast, it should be largely dry to end the day on Saturday, but overnight we're going to see more and more of those showers move through across the country, still falling as snow across high ground in Scotland, perhaps also seeing some flurries of snow at times across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, and still very strong winds, that wind warning then extending across parts of Wales and the southwest by the time we reach Sunday morning. So a very blustery start to Sunday and feeling very chilly indeed in that brisk wind. Then through into Sunday, once again, another very unsettled day. It's going to be very windy across much of the country, particularly around western coast. Still plenty of these showers feeding through, merging into longer spells of rain at times across Scotland. Could also be heavy at times and still seeing that snow mainly across higher ground and feeling particularly cold in those brisk winds. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine getting a call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Christmas market carnage.
At least 2 dead and 68 injured after a car is driven into the crowd at a German Christmas market.
Now, the suspect is believed to be a 50-year-old Saudi Arabian doctor and has been arrested. Mark White has the latest for us.
Well, a young child is among those who were killed in this Christmas market attack. It's been described by German authorities as a terrorist attack and has been condemned by politicians in Germany and beyond as a cowardly and brutal attack.
Sir Keir Starmer has nominated his former Chief of Staff, Sue Gray, for a peerage. He's also put forward 30 people to join the House of Lords as Labour seeks to address what it calls a serious imbalance in the second chamber.
It's the final day today for pensioners to apply for pension credit in order to receive this year's winter fuel payment. That's following, of course, the government's announcement to means test that particular payment.
And today is set to be the busiest shopping day of the year as shoppers take to the high streets for last-minute Christmas bargains.
And King Charles has joked, "I'm still alive," on his last engagement before Christmas. This comes as aides insist there's been no change to his condition and cancer treatment is moving in a positive direction.
And new data shows at least 1 in 4 NHS trusts upped parking charges in the 2 years to March.
Meanwhile, today is the winter solstice. That's the shortest day and longest night of the year here in the Northern Hemisphere.
It's all about Fight Night Fury versus Usyk 2 from the Kingdom Arena in Riyadh in front of a global TV audience of more than 500 million. Doesn't bear thinking about, does it? But will it be Tyson Fury or Tyson Fury? A row has broken out over the former heavyweight champion's beard. We'll reveal all later this hour.
Hello, good morning. Very unsettled for the last weekend before Christmas. We've got very strong winds, particularly around northwestern coasts, and also some rain and showers. I'll be here with all the details.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Christopher Hope.
And I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast. People have noticed that we're very lucky in our surnames.
Yes, Hope and Diamond.
Yeah, that's not bad, is it?
Yes.
In fact, there is a Hope Diamond, isn't there?
There is.
There is. It's one of those famous diamonds, yes.
It's like a double-barreled surname.
Yeah, it is. Hope Diamond.
McGee means awesome in Finnish.
Oh, you must have trawled the internet.
No, I didn't. I worked with a Finnish girl at Sky, and she told me it means MAGA. So it's pronounced MAGA. But when you think about it, MAGA is mega, really. Mega, that's where it comes from. So that's
awesome. I like it.
Awesome, yeah, exactly.
Like a superhero.
Yeah. I think Aiden means fire.
Fire.
Awesome. Yeah. Better.
Building up his name here.
Yeah.
Can Wes Streeting do it? Can he reintroduce the concept of the family doctor? A doctor who knows you, that you can always reliably see when you need to see him or her, and that, the old concept of the family doctor. Maggie says no. Streeting can't do it. He's like the rest of them, all talk, no action.
But Helen says... Helen says she don't know who her doctor is right now, but when she grew up, it was Dr. Hill, and his surgery was his front room.
Yeah, brilliant,
wow.
Absolutely. Jane says, my childhood doctor was called Dr. Woods, and he actually visited you at home in those days.
Yes.
I know, I remember.
And Lou, get this, Lou, you win the prize here for the best response here. I'm very lucky, she says. I have my same GP for 36 years, and he's the best. The surgery is second to none. Never wait more than a day for an appointment. The staff are amazing. Don't tell Wes Streeting and want to come and...
Yeah, don't tell anyone else. We all want to go and move there wherever you are. Sounds brilliant, doesn't it? Okay. Anyway, it's lovely to be with you. And when I said good morning, you sort of think it isn't for so many, is it? Because this terrible thing has happened overnight. It's the big news that 2 people... And this is important that we are giving you the very latest figures, because overnight some figures went right up out of control, and there were all sorts of mysterious rumours going around the internet. But we are giving you the actual figures by the authorities, and so far it is 2 people who have been killed, almost 70 people badly injured, after a car just drove into crowds at a German Christmas market.
The suspected attacker arrested at the scene is believed to be a 50-year-old doctor from Saudi Arabia.
Images and video is circulating online. I'm afraid the video is just too awful to show on television. But they do show a car being driven at really high speed into the Christmas market, right into people, and the vehicle appearing not to slow down.
Joining us now is GB News' home and security editor, Mark White. Mark, what's the latest?
Well, the very latest is some identification for this 50-year-old Saudi Arabian national who came to Germany in 2006 as an asylum seeker, was granted refugee status in 2016 and has been working as a doctor in one of the area hospitals in this part of northeastern Germany. He's been named in German media now as Taleb A. Now, under German privacy laws, you don't get the full name. You always just get the first initial of the surname. So Taleb A is the name that is now circulating in Germany. As I say, an asylum seeker granted refugee status in 2016. And German authorities now, we're told, investigators treating this as a terrorist attack. In terms of what the ideology, what twisted motive this individual had for getting behind the wheel of a vehicle and driving at speed into this crowded Christmas market, we don't know at this stage. There are reports that he was actually anti-Islamist in some of the sort of rhetoric and the posts that he was putting out on social media. That will all factor in to the investigators as they go forward, but there's no doubt they are treating this as a deliberate act, a terrorist attack, and we've heard that really, I think, emphasised by politicians both in Germany and around the world who have been condemning this as a cowardly and brutal act. It was just after 7 o'clock last night when we started getting reports coming through of many people injured at this Christmas market in Magdeburg. It's about 100 miles west of Berlin, and many people were out at that time. Then we saw the video that Anne was alluding to there that shows this vehicle being driven at very high speeds, not slowing down at all, although it makes its way along this long Christmas market for hundreds of meters, with people being thrown up into the air and to the side of the vehicle. One eyewitness who was speaking to local media last night described this as a war zone.
Has died, a young child, 6-day injured, and the concern is going to be this rising toll through the day and seeing how hopefully those 15 in the critical can pull through.
OK, Mark, we'll leave it there for the moment, but you will be joining us later on in the programme, I know.
Now, yeah, we're joined now by counterterrorism expert Hans Jakob Schindler, who joined us now live from Berlin. Hans Jakob, thank you for joining us. This has shocked the UK. I'm sure I can't bear to think how it's going, how Germany's feeling this morning.
Yeah, this is really an extremely tragic incident, especially since attack scenarios with vehicles on Christmas markets are a very sad, known attack methodology in Germany. Just the day before yesterday, Berlin commemorated the 8th anniversary of a vehicle attack on the Christmas market at the Breitscheidplatz in Berlin, which cost. That's the problem. There must have been a mistake or a gap in the security precautions. There have been bullets around the Christmas market in Magdeburg, but very obviously there was a gap that the perpetrator realized that there was a gap and drove through. This should not happen. Attacks like this in Germany are a known scenario. All Christmas markets or larger gatherings of people actually have measures in place, physical measures in place, to prevent exactly such a scenario.
Hans Jakob, there's already some political reaction, isn't there? When the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz says thoughts are with the families. In the UK, Sir Keir Starmer is horrified by the attack. We stand with the people of Germany. Elon Musk, who's the owner of X, he's called for Scholz to resign immediately and called him an incompetent fool. Is it too soon to draw political conclusions yet from what's happened?
I would think so, because we don't really know yet anything more specific about the background and possible ideology of the perpetrator. All that we know for sure is he did act at that evening alone. He certainly wasn't an Islamist. And by the way, he was a big fan of Mr. Musk, so I'm not sure if Mr. Musk would be the ideal person to weigh in at this point.
You say that very certainly. As far as you know, he certainly wasn't an Islamist.
Yes, because the data that was released, the first name and the last name, 50-year-old doctor from Bernburg, that allows a pretty good certainty of identification who it actually is. And that individual was an anti-Islamist activist to help people to flee from Saudi Arabia. So it's a really bizarre case. Also, the age 50-year-old is really an unusual age if it would be an Islamist. What we have seen the last 2 years, unfortunately, is that the perpetrators in Germany and Europe actually getting younger, as young as 13 and 15 years. So it's a really bizarre case, and we will have to wait what the actual background, ideologically or political ideas of this individual could be. One thing is also clear: he didn't have a heart attack and was able to get out of the car by himself, lay on the ground, is being interrogated by the police. So it's definitely not a medical emergency that made him push on the gas without wanting to do it.
Germany, of course, is waking up to that this morning. Are people, do you think they will be going out today to German markets? Are there new protection measures being brought in emergency ones to stop any kind of copycat attacks?
Well, of course, everyone is now revisiting their security measures. There are several layers of these. There is the physical barrier around Christmas markets and large gatherings. Then there are CC security cameras, police in plain clothes as well as in uniform at these places. But obviously, every security concept in these gatherings and Christmas markets in Germany is now being double-checked for any potential gaps that must very likely have been the case in Magdeburg.
We'll leave it there this morning. Our sympathies to everybody involved in that area and throughout Germany and elsewhere, because it frightens us all, doesn't it? Hans-Jakob Schindler, thank you very much indeed. There's lots of domestic politics to talk about as well. We're joined now by Andy Preston, a political commentator now, but also the former mayor of Middlesbrough. Andy, a very good morning to you. We were talking a bit earlier about the fact that this does have a knock-on effect on us all. I mean, Christmas markets are popular here too. And as a former mayor, you must be thinking, how would you react? People will be scared to go out.
Hello, Anne. Hello, Chris. Absolutely. People will be terrified. And this is coming at the worst time. You know, our high streets are struggling. We all know that. And we need people to get out. And Christmas markets are a fantastic way to create fun, leisure, and spend fun time shopping, getting ready in the Christmas spirit. I think I mentioned earlier that for about 4 weeks, people that are attending markets in the UK have been saying to me and online that they're seeing an extraordinarily high level of security, armed police everywhere, and wondering what all that was about. And perhaps this attack in Germany is a reminder that it's literally about a very high risk of terrorism. I think our police and our security services do an incredible job. And just because we don't get an attack doesn't mean there aren't evil people trying to do stuff. So thank you to them for keeping us safe so far. But an awful situation in Germany. Let's hope that people get out and shop in the UK and can get on with their lives as normal.
But Andy, we heard there, didn't we, that in Magdeburg there were the protections around the market, and despite that, it seems a car got through. It just shows that you don't need guns or ammunition. Anything can be used as a weapon and can cause horrific damage.
That's right, Chris. Look, we're human. Our society is vulnerable, and councils and governments go to huge extents. I can tell you about things in Middlesbrough and elsewhere where they do incredible things to make things as safe as possible. But at the end of the day, if somebody wants to cause harm to others, it isn't that difficult to find a way to do it. And that's what's happened, sadly, in Germany. And I'd love to say again really quickly that I think everyone should try not to speculate too much about this, because there are a lot of people trying to spread division, anger, hatred, and fury. But we don't know enough about what the motives are in this case. Clearly a disturbed and deranged individual. That's all we know.
That's all we know at the moment, right. On the domestic politics front, it's the last day for pensioners to apply for pension credit if they hope to receive this year's winter fuel payment. Any advice for them faced with this very long form to fill in, but it is their last day?
Well, it's the last day. Well done to the Lib Dems for calling on the government to extend this. If anyone watches this or you know of someone who might struggle to fill in forms, and I do, lots of people do, especially as we get older, give them a hand. Ask them if they need a hand. Try and help them. And if you're an older person that perhaps struggles, don't feel bashful about asking a trusted neighbour or a family friend. There's nothing wrong with struggling with forms. I genuinely do struggle with forms. And my mother has become used to scammers calling her, pretending to be her phone company, pretending to be her bank, and she's got quite good at dealing with them. We're always impressing on her, you know, don't give information out over the phone. And so a lot of older people now will be bearing that message in mind and scared to perhaps put stuff down in writing. So that's understandable. If it's an official... Sorry.
Well, Andy, as I say, it's Christmas time. Maybe the gift of time, helping an old person fill in that form, could be as valuable as any present, because the value.
Well, yes,
once you sign up for if you are able to get pension credit, it's a gateway benefit.
Why is it so stressful filling out a form? It's because they ask for things that you haven't looked up for years, like your national insurance number or your passport number, or you name it. And you get stressed when you think, where have I put it? Where is that?
Pension income. Yeah. But it does open the gateway, Andy, doesn't it, to other benefits too. So you might find yourself rightly getting the benefits you're due, you weren't getting it before. So it is worth looking at this.
But it is stressful knowing it's the last day. Go on.
100%.
Sorry, Andy.
I'll just say that Chris said there about the gift of time at Christmas is a really good message, actually. Check on your neighbours, check on your elderly uncles and aunties and things like that. You won't regret it if you ask them how they are and they say it's fine. That's great. But they might just give you a hint they need a hand with something.
Yeah.
OK, what do you think then, very quickly, of the appointment of Sue Gray to the House of Lords, Peter Mandelson to Washington, D.C. to be our ambassador there? There are a number of other things as well, but I'm just wondering what your reaction is to either of those.
I'll be super fast for you, Anne. Whenever people get awards, whether it's a peerage or even a school certificate, there's always a controversy. Some people think that somebody else deserved it more and whatever else. That's the first thing I'll say. But secondly, this one with Sue Gray does look dodgy. And of course, she did the investigation into Boris Johnson and Partygate, and she was supposed to be impartial. And we all took it for granted that she was. But within a matter of months, she becomes the number 10 Downing Street Chief of Staff. She did a terrible job. She was fired. Her son is a Labour MP. She's now going to be a Labour politician. It looks dodgy. People's trust in politics will diminish because of this. It looks very bad. Maybe it's innocent, but it looks awful, and another bad move by the government. Peter Mandelson, Lord Mandelson, from what I can tell, everywhere he's gone, there has been huge trouble. He's had to resign twice because of very serious financial allegations, which weren't ever proved to be criminal. I need to stress that. But I can't really discern a significant talent of Peter Mandelson other than his ability to rise through the ranks and become part of the establishment. So I think Peter Mandelson, while I would say he's bereft of many talents, he has a personal charm and charisma, which is probably a great quality for a diplomat.
Yeah.
He said terrible things about Trump, but Trump has proved himself to be incredible at putting differences to one side and working for the common good. So I don't think that's a problem.
And he's certainly political to his fingertips, and that's what you might need to take on someone like Trump. I was just struck. I know we've talked a lot about Sue Gray's peerage for weeks now. It's been in the offing. That's why maybe the headlines are about somebody else, Toby Young from the Free Speech Union, known to our viewers and listeners on GB News. He's got an honour to go into the House of Lords, so it's not all controversial news, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was on a podcast earlier this week with the fantastic man, Lord John Bird, the founder of The Big Issue, a man who's experienced homelessness and now is passionate champion of fighting homelessness. And there are so many great people in the House of Lords, men and women, on all sides, the crossbenchers and then the party political peers. And we need to remember that. And appointments are always controversial, as I say, from OBEs down to school support certificates. There are always people who think that she shouldn't have got it and he should have got it instead. But the Sue Gray thing looks a little dodgy.
OK, yeah, as I said, lots and lots of political headlines about that sort of thing going on today. We'll talk more later. Thank you very much, Andy. Lovely to see you. Happy Christmas.
Now it's time for the weather with Honor Critic.
A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's the last weekend before Christmas and it is going to be fairly unsettled with rain and showers. Very strong winds at times, particularly across the far northwest where there is a yellow weather warning for wind in force. Across central and southern areas, quite cloudy as rain clears its way to the southeast. It is going to be clearer to the north of this, though plenty of blustery showers sweeping their way eastwards across the country. We could even see some hail and thunder mixed into these across northern areas and some snow mainly across hilly areas in Scotland. And those strong blustery northwesterly winds are really going to add on to the wind chill in the north, so feeling particularly chilly here, but largely mild in the south. Then to end the day on Saturday, still plenty of those blustery winds moving across coastal areas of Scotland, Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Still plenty of showers too, these still falling as snow across hills in Scotland, and fairly similar across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Still plenty of those blustery showers and those strong winds, particularly around coastal areas, but even inland, winds could still be fairly strong. A few showers around Wales and some outbreaks of rain just clearing the far south. So across the southeast, it should be largely dry to to end the day on Saturday. But overnight, we're going to see more and more of those showers move through across the country, still falling as snow across high ground in Scotland, perhaps also seeing some flurries of snow at times across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, and still very strong winds. That wind warning then extending across parts of Wales and the southwest by the time we reach Sunday morning. So a very blustery start to Sunday and feeling very chilly indeed in that brisk wind. Then through into Sunday, once again, another very unsettled day. It's going to be very windy across much of the country, particularly around western coast. Still plenty of these showers feeding through, merging into longer spells of rain at times across Scotland. Could also be heavy at times and still seeing that snow mainly across higher ground and feeling particularly cold in those brisk winds. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Christmas is coming and there's still plenty of time to grab a chance to win our festive treat to you. An incredible £50,000 in cash. It's the biggest ever Great British giveaway at GB News. All of tax-free money could be yours in time for the New Year's sales. Here's all the details you need.
There's just 4 sleeps till Christmas and all through the land, GB News has the chance to win a nifty 50 grand. That's cash for the new year. You could go on a spree. And the best thing about it, it's totally tax-free. From Santa with love, you could be our winner. Just enter right now or right after Christmas dinner. It's a cracker of a prize, guaranteed to enthrall. From all of us at GB News, Merry Christmas to you all.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, talking of money, you're going to need it if you want to park anywhere that's owned by the NHS. Because you would have thought, after all the years of talking about the excruciating charges to park, for instance, outside a hospital, they're going to go up again. We're going to be hearing more about that next.
Britain's Newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
It's about Generation Z spending 6 hours a day online. Generation Z, which age group is that?
16 to 24.
OK, great.
Now, this could explain why there's 1 million young people aged between 16 and 24
not working.
in work.
Yeah.
And I did a TV show yesterday, we're talking about, and the lefty person I was on with was making excuses for the fact that we've got 9 million people unemployed. And this woman, this mum, rang in, and she was hilarious. And I thought she was going to have a go at me. She said, Carol Malone. I thought, here we go, another one. And she goes, you are absolutely right. She said, I've just thrown my son out of the house, who's 24. She said, my husband and I, she said, we worked all our lives, 2 jobs, to get him to college, to get him to a private school. Yeah. She said, he hasn't worked a day.
No.
And his attitude was, why should I? And you think, and she said he spends all day online.
On his phone.
All he's
because
doing.
we would have gone to get a job because we were bored. And the trouble is, Jonathan, the younger generation are never, ever bored because the algorithms keep them stimulating.
Well, the dopamine hits keep coming. I think it's actually a problem for all of us. Yeah. You know, now for anyone, if you just have a moment to yourself, a lot of people of all ages, what do we reach for? We reach for our phones, particularly for those. Obviously, if we're with a friend, we'll talk to them.
Your age group, you're not talking about.
I know that I've spoken to a lot of people who are in their 50s and 60s who also will just, you know, if they have a free month on the tube or whatever, they'll just look at their phone and read. And it's actually terrifying because on the iPhone every Monday it tells you how much time you spent on your phone the previous week. And it's
how much for you? On average per day?
Fair few hours. I mean, a lot of that would be work.
What's the ballpark? Oh, more than 5?
Occasionally 5, yeah.
Well,
Got better things to do.
Spending 6 hours a day.
Do you never read a book?
Well, that would be at night time.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, at least 1 in 4 NHS trusts has increased parking costs in the past 2 years to March this year.
It's left patients outraged. Health experts highlighting the huge financial pressure hospital trusts are already under.
It comes as parking fees were temporarily relinquished for hospital staff during the COVID pandemic. But the government claims the change had cost around £130 million.
So should patients pay for parking at hospitals?
Well, I know what the answer to that one is for our viewers, but with me now to discuss this is health commentator Roy Lilly. Why on earth, Roy Lilly, are hospitals not just axing these charges as soon as possible, given the money the NHS is getting from that tax-raising budget?
Well, it's a good question. Look, none of this is ever simple, is it? Most hospitals actually don't run their own car parks. These days, they're contracted out. So most of them have a company that do it for them. Some of the hospitals are what's called PFI hospitals, private finance hospitals, where most of the facilities management is contracted out and the car park is often not owned by the hospital either. So they don't have direct control over their car park. So they can't say, don't charge our nurses or don't charge or whatever, take the costs away. During COVID, the government stumped up. It costs about 70 million a year to what we call subvent this, pay this on behalf of the staff and patients and what have you. My view is that it's such a small amount of money, and this is an annual argy-bargy we have about this time. I don't know why they persist with it, but I've lived long enough and I'm old enough in the tooth now to know there's nothing free. Somebody has to pay somewhere for something. Who is it going to be? The other difficulty is with car parks is if you've got a hospital that's near a shopping centre, for example, or a high street, you get people come in, park in the hospital, if it's cheap enough, bung up the hospital car park, and then people complain that they come to hospital, they can't park. So it's an absolute nightmare. There's plenty to worry about when you're running a hospital, but worrying about the car park is a last bloody thing you need.
If you're going to hospital, you're elderly, maybe, you're ill, someone's ill, you don't know how long you're staying for, you're panicking, you're trying to find the app, you're trying to find 50p for the charge. Yeah. It just makes it 20 times worse. And it's the one thing which everyone remembers is finding the money, how to pay this parking charge.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's no one way of doing it either. Some people still require the coins, really, coins. So you've got to fiddle about looking for 50p pieces and all of that, or £1 coins probably. Some of them do have an app, and again, you've got to download the app, and what's the Wi-Fi like in the car park, and, can you do it? I agree with you. It's a total palaver, and if it was in my gift, I'd say it's not the 140 odd million that the government are talking about. That's over 2 years. It's actually about 70 million, and really in the scheme of things it's small change. And I think it's one big thing that our new great leader Wes Streeting could actually stump up and say, we'll find this down the back of the sofa at the Department of Health and we'll pay for it, and it would end all this aggravation.
Well, absolutely. This is what we were saying just before we came back after the break, that we have all been debating this for years.
Yes.
And everybody thinks that morally it's wrong that we should have to be going through all of the stress of going to hospital or going to visit somebody in hospital, having to worry about car parking. It feels morally unjust. Why hasn't any government, and maybe particularly this one, actually addressed that problem?
It's a really good question, and I have absolutely no idea. I mean, it's such a cheap thing to do that actually, you know, could look quite good, you know, where everybody's into narrative and optics in politics, and this has got a great narrative and the optics are good to do it. I mean, there are other issues around it. If you make it free, you're going to get residents parking in the car park.
There are ways around that, though, aren't there?
If you had to show up your NHS letter when you arrive at the booth and the gate you go through.
Stop.
I know, sorry, it's absolutely triggering me.
I'm just saying, you know, these are the issues that are on the table that have to be fixed. You know, I've become Mr. Car Park with this. I've built a career out of excusing car park payments. But I mean, honestly, I'm with you. I'd say to Wes, do yourself a favour, mate. Go and find the money.
Yeah, it would perk us all up, wouldn't it? Instead of depressing us just before Christmas.
I think we need perking up for Christmas, don't we?
Well,
you know, Father Christmas has got to park his sleigh somewhere, and we don't want to charge him 50 pence, do we?
Well, at the moment, he'll be charged a lot. It's good to talk to you. Happy Christmas.
Thank you, thank you, Roy Lilly. Now, at GB News, we love to hear what you think, and every day we're running our poll of the day. Today, we're asking, should NHS Trust be banned from hiking up parking charges at hospitals? We'll be bringing you the live results throughout the day, so please be sure to stay tuned. The final result will be announced later in Nana Akura's show.
And for all the latest polls and news and how to vote, just go to gbnews.com/poll.
Now, during Advent, as we count down to Christmas Day next week, we're hearing from church ministers across the country. Each day they've got a special message for you to celebrate the festive season.
The GB News Advent Calendar, Day 21.
Hi, I'm Richard England, Vicar of Crofton Parish. It's just about the shortest day of the year. From here, imperceptibly, the days will start to get longer. There's quite a lot of winter left, but eventually the light will start to push out the dark. The Christmas story, like the turning of the seasons, reminds us that we are never hopeless. The first Christmas occurred in a world full of darkness, full of violence and oppression, a world longing for a brighter day. The star shining in the night pointed to a source of hope in our lives beyond our circumstances. If the Christmas story is true, then we're not alone in life. Whatever long nights of grief or sorrow we go through, there is another with us, for us, whose light and love can lead us through the darkest moments of our lives. Things may seem dark in your life, in our world. The nights may feel endless, but morning always comes. Light always returns.
I think that's the best Christmas jumper I've seen so far. Very tasteful. Anyway, you can see all of our special Advent messages as Christmas approaches by visiting gbnews.com/Advent.
Merry Christmas too. Still to come, Aidan McGee's here to tell us all about tonight's blockbuster fight between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. That's next, but this is GB News with me, Christopher Hope, and of course the legend that is Anne Diamond.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Well, it's interesting because I haven't actually been told specifically what I've done, which has resulted in me being removed from my committee position, which was head of daytime. I started a podcast in September in which I interviewed Charlie Bentley-Astor, who's a detransitioner. I then also interviewed Graham Linehan and I wrote an article for his Substack. And shortly after that, I was told that I had been suspended and the university union started an investigation into me, and that very quickly became apparent to me that it was an interrogation of my gender-critical views rather than any sort of misconduct that I had been alleged to.
Right.
And Graham Linehan has been outspoken on issues relating to transgender ism, whatever you want to call it, gender ideology. And so perhaps just by having associated yourself with him as a controversial figure, that was why the investigation happened, you suspect?
Yes, and already it's quite clear that guilt by association is a crime that you can commit within university societies. I actually purchased my free speech union membership way before this all happened, when a friend helped me edit the episode with Charlie, and he got in trouble with a separate society who told him that he must disassociate himself from me, and if he didn't, further measures would be taken. So at that point I thought, wow, I better put some damage control in place and purchase my membership in case anything happens to me.
So this decision is made by the student union, right? Is that made up of fellow students? Or who's making this call?
Well, that's actually part of my appeal, so the process has been completely improper. They haven't followed their own guidelines. There are two different guidelines as to whether a complaint is dealt with the society itself, so Leeds Student Radio, or the union, and it's basically been a mishmash of both. So it's been an improper procedure, but it is, as far as I'm aware, it's the student union who's decided to remove me.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with me, Christopher Hope, and Anne Diamond.
Yes, and Aidan McGee is here. What were we saying your name meant earlier?
Well, first name means fire.
Fire.
I don't know, I think that's in Gaelic.
Yeah.
And surname McGee, pronounced Maga in Finnish, in Finland, is awesome.
Yeah, so you're an awesome...
You could be a wrestler.
Yeah, which I think is a literal translation of mega, I suppose, isn't it? Mega would be awesome, I guess.
Yeah,
Right, awesome.
Well, take it away, awesome. It's the big fight tonight, tomorrow morning.
Yeah, we think the ring walks will probably happen at about 10:30, but that's very much dependent on the undercard, everything going to plan, because some of these fights will go on longer than anticipated. Some will expect to be over quite early, some will go the distance. So it's a little bit of a movable feast, but it suits the time frame in this country than if it was in the States, for example, where we used to have to stay up until 4 a.m. That's one thing Saudi has done. Christmas boxing as well. I mean, yeah, it seems logical as we're close to Boxing Day, but not really seen that before. We're going to ask Frank Warren about that in the next hour. He's Tyson Fury's promoter, because maybe they missed a trick for the last 30-odd years, because, I mean, it seems obvious to me that a big sporting event, just like football, should happen around Christmas time.
So.
Exactly.
And the stakes are high, so it's Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, for all of the heavyweight belts.
That's
so the
right,
winner
indeed.
is the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
Yes, that's correct. So the Usyk holds... I was flicking my pen around. Usyk holds all three belts at the moment, WBA, WBC and WBO. It's taking place at the Kingdom Arena in Riyadh. Some intrigue around the beard, which we discussed last hour, didn't we? And the boxing authorities have cleared the Tyson Fury's beard. Because it was...
Which is getting long. I mean,
it is getting long. He said it makes him feel more powerful. And Usyk is saying, well, you know, this could pose a risk to a cut.
Yeah, it's just a war of words.
Well, I think it's a gamesmanship. It's almost something to throw him off
there is the beard. It's almost Father Christmas in scale.
It is. And then there's also the issue of, does it cushion the power of punches?
Not much, I wouldn't have thought.
No, I don't think so either. Well, if they cleared it last night, and Usyk's team said they're going to push this further, which suggests to me that's just mischief-making, to be honest with you. The weigh-in was very interesting yesterday. Both fighters tipped the scales at record weights. They're heavier than they've ever been before. Fury was 20 stone and 1 pound. That's with a huge leather jacket on. Now, that, to me, again, is mind games. He wants to appear as heavy as possible against his opponent. It also says to me, Anne, that he wants to get in and out of there quickly, get the job done, impose himself as the bigger man, and try and get it done early, because I'm not sure any fighter can sustain that level of weight through
a contest that goes the distance.
Is that right?
That's just a
Your
feeling.
weight plays against you.
I'm not. Yeah, because it's about conditioning, and maybe he thinks he was a little bit underpowered last time. Having said that, Usyk's coming at 16. That's the heaviest he's ever been as well. So he looks very athletic.
When was the last time we had a British undisputed heavyweight champion?
Lennox Lewis, 30 years ago, roughly 30 years ago.
He'll be history making tonight.
Yeah, he's in great company if Tyson Fury can do it.
And very quickly, Luke Littler is playing tonight.
He's on tonight. Yeah, extraordinary. I was chatting about the JDC. So this is something that was formed a few years ago, and the Junior Darts Corporation. This is a system that Luke Littler has come through. Now, what that means is that some of the darts authorities looked at the number of players coming through the system, and they said to themselves, well, look, how can we get players in younger? Because all the players are coming out of social clubs and working man's clubs and out of pubs. How can we get young people? Because they can't enter a pub until they're probably 17, 18 or whatever. So how do we get them earlier? So they formed the JDC, and it meant that the board was slightly different. So the bullseye was bigger to help people, be encouraged by a bigger target, and it's starting to produce much younger players. Luke Littler, I've never seen, I don't think, a young sportsman take one sport by storm quite the way he has, and I'm putting him alongside Emma Raducanu there as well.
Has his diet changed? He's on a lot of pies and donors, I think, when he won last year.
Yes, he was, but he's talking. There's talk about he's up against a hairdresser tonight. He is, yeah. So he's looking to be a cut above.
Yeah, well, fitness wasn't part of the dart.
All about
thing,
the arrows and
really?
the elbow.
Anyway, look, we're going to leave it there, otherwise we won't have time for the papers. They're coming up in a very short moment.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Storm Dino so clears, but it remains often cloudy and sometimes windy around coastal areas, particularly for the Canary Islands and Madeira. A fairly strong northwesterly flow dragging in some cloud and some outbreaks of rain at times. Fairly settled across Portugal and Spain, but as we move further east, cloudy with some showers at times, particularly for Rome and at times parts of Greece. But it generally looks like it's improving by the time we reach the middle of the week, with the best of the temperatures across Madeira.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Now, on a slight change of pace this morning, a Christmas treat for you from my podcast, Chopper's Political Podcast. Here's former Conservative Attorney General Sir Geoffrey Cox reading Sir John Betjeman's Christmas classic.
Gorgeous, isn't it?
Christmas by Sir John Betjeman. The bells of waiting Advent ring, the tortoise stove is lit again, and lamp oil light across the night has caught the streaks of winter rain in many a stained-glassed window sheen from Crimson Lake to Hooker's Green. The holly in the windy hedge and round the manor house the yew will soon be stripped to deck the ledge, the altar, font, and arch, and pew, so that the villagers can say, the church looks nice on Christmas Day. Provincial public houses blaze, corporation tramcars clang. On lighted tenements I gaze, where paper decorations hang. And bunting in the red town hall says Merry Christmas to you all.
Now, that's just the first part, because it's quite a long poem. We'll bring you part two shortly, but right now we'll take a very quick break, and then we'll be doing the newspapers. You're watching GB News Breakfast.
I'm Patrick Christie's. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Lee Anderson's Real World, Fridays from 7 p.m.
I'm joined with Ryan Mark Parsons, who's a TV personality, a columnist, and he was on The Apprentice a few years back, weren't you? That's where most people would recognise your face from. One of the youngest contenders ever on The Apprentice. How did that work out?
Well, you know what? I never in a million years thought I'd get on the show. I was 18 when I applied. There were about 6 months of auditions. It was intense. You met Lord Sugar's advisors, his lawyers, his business advisors. It was the most intense thing I've ever done. And I just thought, never in a million years am I going to get on the show as a teenager. And I got the call from the exec. And he was like, you're one of the 16 candidates. And it was just like, really? So I took a gap year. I've just finished my A-levels. I was working in Harrods before. And I just came up with this business idea, took it onto the show. And I got fired in the end. I lasted 8 weeks, which wasn't too bad. But
what was the business idea? Educate me.
A concierge, similar to companies like Velocity Black, quintessentially, that work with some of the private banks. It was similar to that. I was inspired by my time in Harrods, working with some of these ultra-high net worth clients. So I just wrote a 40-page business plan like we all have to do, but I didn't make it to the interview, so I didn't get to talk about it. But no, it was a great experience, a very tough experience, but unforgettable.
So at a young age, how did that change your life at that age? Because you must have got recognised, starting to be recognised when you're going out and about town.
Yeah, I mean, it happened quite quickly because the adverts start rolling out on BBC One and then the shows go on air. It's once a week on a Wednesday. You're getting about 7 million people tuning in every week.
Yep, yep.
And yeah, it was surreal. It was surreal. And then suddenly you get invitations to things. You're going to premieres and it was a lot. It was a lot at a young age. And I obviously had no training for any of that. But I just embraced it and I've had fun with it.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Joining us to go through what's making the news is Kevin Schofield and Emma Wolfe. Welcome back to the show, both of you.
Good morning.
What's in the papers for you, Kevin?
Well, my top story here is Toby Young becoming a peer.
Now, remind everybody who Toby Young is.
Well, Toby Young, at the moment, he is the founder and director of the Free Speech Union, but, he's come quite a lot into his career. He is a huge proponent of free schools. He set up a free school in West London. He's a contributor to The Spectator. Wasn't he the author of How to Make Lose Friends and Alienate People, which became a
That was his big thing, wasn't it, in the sort of 80s, 90s?
In New York, wasn't he, working at the magazine out there?
The point is, he's a mover and shaker, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's
And do you think he's a good appointment to the House of Lords? Because he'll move and shake them.
Yeah, I think it's good to have people in there who are maybe unconventional, who will speak their mind, which he clearly does. I think that's kind of the whole point of the House of Lords, that they're given a bit more freedom than MPs.
But what is it for? So Keir Starmer wanted to scrap the House of Lords a couple of years ago, and now he's made 30 peers. He's getting rid of 80-odd hereditaries. And is it right that we're losing hereditaries and gaining Toby Young? Is that a good thing?
Well, I think Toby Young is good, strong. He'll be an independent voice. I know he's obviously on the Tory side, but he'll be he'll be able to speak up, and he's not just a sort of yes man at all.
Yeah.
As for Starmer and as for whether, scrapping the hereditary peers, really loading up, he wants to load up, doesn't he? He wants to kind of get parity. Once the hereditary peers are gone, the Tories and Labour will be almost neck and neck. I mean, I think the big announcement is obviously Sue Gray. It's no surprise, but it's very interesting that Starmer has immediately parachuted her into the Lords, given that she didn't even take up that nonsense trade and envoys of the Regions job that was invented for her. She didn't even turn up for that. So, I mean...
No. The politics is there'll still be a Tory majority, even after the hereditary on, or about 30 or so.
At the moment, there's 273 Tories and only 187 Labour, and basically...
the crossbenchers hold the balance of power.
Exactly, and he wants more Labour people in there, obviously, to get his legislation through because he doesn't want the House of Lords slowing up. But to your ordinary man or woman in the street, it's like, well, hang on a minute, you wanted to abolish the House of Lords and now you're appointing 30 Lords, and I think it's quite difficult.
A lot of them are ex-Labour MPs, advisors. Sue Gray, literally,
They've been waiting a long time, though, haven't they, to sort of say thank you to certain workers?
Yeah. I mean,
the party faithfuls.
It's a big hug, an ermine hug.
It's a very big ermine hug.
Yeah, one or two of them stood down as MPs right at the last minute. Kevin Brennan being one of them, stood down right at the last minute before the election, and lo and behold, they're back in Parliament a few months later.
Talking of that, I mean, Peter Mandelson has been waiting a long time in the wings. Yes. Has he not, Emma? And now, suddenly, he's going to be the UK ambassador to Washington, D.C.
This is very funny. This was a pre-Christmas chuckle, wasn't it? So Trump's campaign manager has been quite outspoken, Chris LaCivita. He says that Starmer's choice of Peter Mandelson is not very smart. This Chris LaCivita is the guy who masterminded Trump's presidential campaign. And he's been very outspoken. He said, why replace a universally respected ambassador, I think it's Karen Pierce at the moment, with an absolute moron? He should stay home, sad. I love it. But let's just remember what Peter Mandelson said about Trump. In 2019, he described Trump as a danger to the world, and he said he was little short of a white nationalist and racist.
Yeah, but that's nothing to what David Lammy has said.
Exactly. So none of these people have been very nice about Trump. So no wonder the guy is hitting back and saying,
so
absolute moron.
Though. I mean,
sad. Stay home.
But the interesting thing is that having somebody call you an absolute moron now means that the press, when they're writing about you, can always use the headline, absolute moron says blah, blah, blah.
Dubbed a moron.
We're waiting to hear from Nigel Farage. He's reserving judgment, he told me yesterday.
Is that what he said?
On the future. He might take his cue from what the Trump team is saying.
Having said that, Peter Mandelson is very experienced.
And he's an arch pragmatist, as we know, a new Labour man to his bootstraps, and he's got trade experience from being a European commissioner. And I think the whole point of this is to get out there and try and get in with Trump, and try and, I think, let him or encourage him to view us favourably when it comes to trade, because he wants to put tariffs on all imports, and we don't want that, because that's terrible for the economy. So that'll be Peter Mann's big job.
So, but it's a big day for getting ready for Christmas week starts shortly, Anne. You've been saying.
This is the start of Christmas week, isn't it?
That's right. And the Daily Mail, there's some news on how to cook your Christmas dinner.
Yeah, well, people are using. Do you guys own air fryers?
Yes,
you do.
We do.
Has it changed your life?
Well, yeah, we were kind of reluctantly got it, but lots of friends have got them raving about them.
Yeah.
We got like 3-4 months ago, and I'd say it has actually.
So they're cheaper on the energy bills and apparently healthier. More and more people are going to be using them instead of an oven for the Christmas dinner. So for turkeys, roast potatoes. I know roast potatoes are good in air fryer. Veggies, everything. People are throwing. Even older cooks who like the traditional oven are increasingly using their air fryer for Christmas dinner.
Do you think it's going to have the revolutionary effect on the kitchen that the microwave did?
Well, there you go. The microwave was such a big change, wasn't it?
So 30 or 40 years ago, we would have been sitting around here, I don't know about this newfangled microwave. It's never going to come.
When it zaps us with waves and radio waves and all that.
That's right.
I just remember Mum getting up at like 5 in the morning in order to turn on the oven.
Kevin Schofield, Emma, thank you both. See you in the next hour. Now it's time for the weather with Honor Critic.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's the last weekend before Christmas and it is going to be fairly unsettled with rain and showers. Very strong winds at times, particularly across the far northwest where there is a yellow weather warning for wind in force. Across central and southern areas, quite cloudy as rain clears its way to the southeast. It is going to be clearer to the north of this, though plenty of blustery showers sweeping their way eastwards across the country. We could even see some hail and thunder mixed into these across northern areas and some snow mainly across hilly areas in Scotland. And those strong blustery northwesterly winds are really going to add on to the wind chill in the north, so feeling particularly chilly here, but largely mild in the south. Then to end the day on Saturday, still plenty of those blustery winds moving across coastal areas of Scotland, Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Still plenty of showers too, these still falling as snow across hills in Scotland, and fairly similar across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Still plenty of those blustery showers and those strong winds, particularly around coastal areas, but even inland, winds could still be fairly strong. A few showers around Wales and some outbreaks of rain just clearing the far south. So across the southeast, it should be largely dry to end the day on Saturday. But overnight, we're going to see more and more of those showers move through across the country. Still falling as snow across high ground in Scotland, perhaps also seeing some flurries of snow at times across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, and still very strong winds. That wind warning then extending across parts of Wales and the southwest by the time we reach Sunday morning. So a very blustery start to Sunday and feeling very chilly indeed in that brisk wind. Then through into Sunday, once again, another very unsettled day. It's going to be very windy across much of the country, particularly around western coast. Still plenty of these showers feeding through, merging into longer spells of rain at times across Scotland. Could also be heavy at times and still seeing that snow mainly across higher ground and feeling particularly cold in those brisk winds. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Cryptocurrency entrepreneur Justin Sun spent $6.2 million, £4.9 million on a banana, duct taped to a wall, a piece of art by artist Mauricio Catalan. Other artwork has recently caused controversy. A portrait of the British computer scientist Alan Turing by the world's first ultra-realistic robot artist, that is to say ADAR, sold at auction for almost $1.1 million. Joining me now to talk about these latest hoo-has is art critic and mentor at the University of Arts London, Estelle Lovett. I have a feeling that in the case of the banana, it's quite a lot to do with the buyer. Now, you've researched the buyer a little bit. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Justin Sun?
Yes, so he's a very wealthy cryptocurrency dealer. And of course, you know, everything now is AI and FTs, and it's the way that money's going, and it's very good publicity for him. So obviously, you know, he's not daft. But what makes this banana so unusual is, and it has, as you say, taken the art world by storm. It is the current spectacle, and what's amazing is that even during these very difficult times, the art market still manages to spend big on a significant fuss. Why has it created this fuss? Well, don't forget, the winning bid just happened in a matter of minutes. It took Justin Sun minutes to beat 6 other rivals, so they've all got mega bucks in their pocket. But you know, it's conceptual art at its best.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning. Christmas market carnage.
At least 2 dead and 68 injured after a car is driven at speed into a crowd in a German Christmas market.
Now, the suspect is believed to be a 50-year-old Saudi Arabian doctor and has been arrested. Mark White has the details.
Well, the German authorities have confirmed that a young child is among those killed and say the death toll could well rise. Politicians have attacked this as a cowardly and brutal attack.
Sir Keir Starmer has nominated his former top advisor and Chief of Staff Sue Gray for a peerage. He's also put forward 30 people to join the House of Lords as Labour seeks to redress what it calls a serious imbalance in our second parliamentary chamber.
It's the final day today for pensioners to apply for pension credit in order to receive this year's winter fuel payment. That, of course, follows the government's announcement to means test that particular payment.
And today is set to be the busiest shopping day of the year as shoppers take to the high street for last-minute Christmas bargains. And Jack Carson is out and about chatting with those shoppers.
King Charles has joked, "I'm still alive," on his last engagement before Christmas. And this comes as his aides insist that there has been no change to his condition and the cancer treatment is moving in a positive direction.
That's great news. And meanwhile, it's winter solstice today, the shortest day and longest night of the year here in the Northern Hemisphere.
It's all about Fight Night Fury versus Usyk 2 from the Kingdom Arena in Riyadh in front of a TV audience of more than 500 million people. At stake is the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. We'll hear from Fury's promoter Frank Warren live from Riyadh later this hour.
Hello, good morning. Very unsettled for the last weekend before Christmas. We've got very strong winds, particularly around northwestern coasts, and also some rain and showers. I'll be here with all the details.
Well, it's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Christopher Hope.
And I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast.
No, I haven't.
It's going to be an incredibly busy shopping time and cooking time. And who is it who's been making gingerbread in your house?
Oh, my daughter Pollyanna's made them.
You've had it down there.
We're 2 hours into our show together. Here we are. This is this is foil. She wrapped them last night. She's busy baking.
Ooh,
there we have
gingerbread.
it. And we'd like to have a gingerbread.
Are they wearing football shirts?
They're wearing, looks like Newcastle United shirts. I'll pass one to Aidan. There we are.
Lovely, thank you very much.
These are Pollyanna and Sapphire.
Good for my diabetes.
My daughter's made these. There we are.
Oh, I'm telling you, that smells wonderful, doesn't it? Can you see?
I'm really sorry, I've eaten
freshly made gingerbread by the Hope
I love
daughters.
gingerbread, it's my favourite. If I take this, I'm not going to be able to speak.
Yeah.
But doesn't that remind? It smells of Christmas, doesn't it?
Soft,
I'll eat that in a minute. Yeah, that's really
lovely.
great.
Thanks very much.
Gingerbread, the best ever. But it does take us on to the sort of things you'd buy tonight at a Christmas market. And I'm afraid it's just such terrible news because we're beginning this morning with that news story that 2 people have been killed, almost 70 injured. Those are the very latest official figures. 2 killed, amongst them a child. Almost 70 injured after a car drove into the crowds at a German Christmas market last night.
That's right. The suspected attacker was arrested at the scene. He's believed to be a 50-year-old doctor from Saudi Arabia.
Now, there's lots of images and videos circulating online. I'm afraid the actual video of the terrible incident is much too graphic for us to air. But it does show a car being driven at really high speed right into the people thronging around the Christmas market. And the vehicle appears not to be trying to slow down.
Joining us now is GB News' Home and Security Editor, Mark White, with the latest.
Good morning. Yes, it was just after 7 o'clock last night when we started getting reports of an incident unfolding at a Christmas market in the northeastern city of Magdeburg, about 100 miles west of Berlin. And of course, uppermost in everybody's mind on hearing an incident at a Christmas market is the potential for a terrorist attack. Well, now, today, the German authorities say they are treating this as a terrorist attack, although the exact motivation for why anyone would get behind the wheel of a vehicle, and as Anne was alluding to about that video, drive at very high speed through this market for hundreds of meters. One eyewitness told local media that the scene inside that market was like a war zone with bodies scattered everywhere, dozens of ambulances at the scene, paramedics triaging the most badly injured before taking them off to area hospitals. And in terms of the suspect, well, we are learning a bit more about him. A 50-year-old Saudi Arabian national who came to Germany in 2006 and claimed asylum. He was finally granted refugee status in 2016. German media say that his name is Taleb A. Under German privacy laws, they never give you the full name. They give you the first letter of the surname. So Taleb A is the name that German media are now circulating with. This individual, we're told, was a doctor at one of the area hospitals just 26 miles from the city where this attack took place. And in terms of the numbers dead and injured, you mentioned again in the introduction 2 dead, including a child. Well, authorities are warning that the death toll may well rise because a number of the almost 70 people who were injured in this attack were very severely injured, at least 15 very severely injured, fighting for their lives this morning in a local hospital. We're looking at daytime images of Magdeburg at the moment as those police investigators and forensic teams now pore over the scene of this crime in the city centre. These Christmas markets in Germany in particular are just so popular, so symbolic. As we know, of course, here in the UK, we have these Christmas markets. We often refer to them as German markets after the tradition that really emanated from Germany, and they are always well attended. There were hundreds of people at this Christmas market last night when this attack took place. Somehow this vehicle managed to get through the vehicle mitigation barriers that we see at Christmas markets in Germany and overseas, here in the UK as well, to try to guard against this. Somehow there was some gap that this vehicle managed to get through. That will, of course, have to be investigated in the fullness of time. It brought back the news as it was coming through, I have to say, some pretty unpleasant memories for me as well. I was in Berlin in 2016 when the last mass casualty event caused by a vehicle smashing into a Christmas market took place. Then it was a Tunisian asylum seeker who hijacked a lorry and drove it in to that Christmas market, killing 12 people and injuring 56 others. History repeating itself in the most unpleasant way in Germany.
Oh, Mark. Well, Mark White, thank you very much. And then, of course, remembering those memories from 8 years ago in Berlin. Thank you for joining us again on GB News. We're joined now by the former counterterrorism head at the MOD, Chip Chapman. Chip, great to see you on GB News. And Mark White there alluding to the attack 8 years ago, but it looks like the motivation is different. Back then it was an attack claimed by Islamic State, but this appears to be, as far as we know, it's early days, a different motive behind this attack.
Yeah, we all remember the Berlin attack in 2016, but there actually was an attack in 2020 at Trier, which everyone rushed to say was a terrorist attack, but actually was a drunk driver who lost control of a car. So although Mark said this is being seen to be a terrorist attack, that's not actually true yet. So the spectrum is still from drunk, I don't suspect that he wasn't, a grievance, and that seems more likely at the moment, or a terrorist attack. And I say the grievance because the social media scraping of this guy shows that he's actually very anti-Islam and has tweeted support for the AfD, the right-wing party, and various conspiracy theories. So part of the grievance thing might be that he thought that his work was being undermined by the authorities. That said, of course, the key thing from a UK perspective is that protective security measures failed here. And under the contest strategy, that's the counter-terrorist strategy in the UK, protect is a big measure, which there should be these protective security measures, vehicle security barriers, which mean that this should not be allowed to happen.
A great many of our viewers are emailing in saying, yeah, we're being gaslit here, though, aren't we? We can see what is going on here. There couldn't be a more inflammatory word to mention this morning than asylum seeker, and yet he has been described officially as that. I mean, are we being gaslit? To not jump to conclusions, I suppose. Are we getting the truth at this stage, or will things turn out to be different?
I don't think you're being gaslit, but the truth seems to be that he was actually, because he's a doctor, he wasn't an asylum seeker. He's actually had residence permits from 2006. The other thing which people get wrong, of course, is that they think that because it's a doctor involved, that because of the Hippocratic Oath, that they're all good people. Of course, they're not. There was a 2007 terrorist attack at Glasgow Airport where a doctor was involved in that who got life imprisonment. People jumped to conclusions too quickly. That's why I mentioned that Trier case in 2020 when instantly people said that was terrorism, which it was not. We have to be very careful about the motivation until the police actually know that definitively.
Yeah, we're looking at live pictures now from Magdeburg. Will there be a tightening up of measures? Maybe in Europe, the fear of copycat attacks using vehicles, of course, are some of the hardest to defend against.
Well, terrorism is really in retreat at the moment. The only two terrorist methods which show that weakness are vehicle as a weapon, because the entry point is very low, the ability to drive, or a bladed weapon attack where all you need is a mobile hand. They are the two prevalent terrorist attacks. In the UK, we had a spate of them in 2017. We all remember the Westminster Bridge, the London Bridge, and there was one at Finsbury Park. There haven't been any in the UK since for that sort of attack. They are still rare. What I would say is that we need to hopefully keep this in sort of perspective in a UK context and not let the dread hazard of terrorism overtake us. Terrorism is still a very rare event. That said, I do expect more people to die in this attack, because if the speed, the mass and the angle of attack of a vehicle is sufficient, if it was going over 40 miles an hour, then I think you will get more people, or more people will become fatalities from this.
As things stand, there's 2 killed and 70 injured, as far as we know it.
Yeah, that's as far as we know. Thank you, Chip Chapman, for joining us this morning. And of course, I think most people will say it's all very well to be told this sort of attack is very rare. But if you, like so many people, are thinking of heading out to do some last-minute Christmas shopping, maybe at a Christmas market, will it affect your decision? We're joined now by GB News West Midlands reporter Jack Carson, who's actually in Birmingham at the Christmas markets there. Morning, Jack.
Good morning to you both. Well, this is what's being called Super Weekend. We're expecting 40 million people across the country to be doing their last-minute Christmas shopping today, whether it's in-store or online. More than £3 billion is expected to be spent. I mean, here in Birmingham, there are hundreds of thousands of people that visit just the Christmas market. As you can see here, the Christmas market here is right on the high street here, so this is no doubt going to be very, very busy, and the retail sector looking to make up for what's been a bit of a poor start to the Christmas period. When you look at toy sales going into the start of December, they're 5% down on levels from 2023. So days like today, Super Weekend, when many people yesterday in office jobs finished for Christmas, coming out today to do their last minute Christmas shopping, the retail sector will be hoping they can make up on what was a few unexpected losses, maybe, or not as much gain from the losses in the retail sector we saw in October, in November. Not many people going for as many Black Friday deals as we expected to see. But as you were mentioning there, lots of people coming to Christmas markets. We're at the one here in Birmingham today. And after that attack in Germany, what you can see here are big barriers, concrete barriers covered in metal, and these have been set up for the duration of this Christmas market and before it opened at the start of November. These are designed to be able to stop vehicles coming into what will be later on a very heavily pedestrianised area. We've seen already neighbourhood police teams this morning from the West Midlands Police. The Christmas market itself has its own private security which patrols the market 24 hours a day. But West Midlands Police also saying that they have got specialist trained officers that are in and around the crowds that engage in special reconnaissance missions and in order to identify possible targets of people trying to cause crime. So you've got those specialist officers that are out on the streets today, as well as neighbourhood policing. That will be very much the same situation across the country. These barriers are certainly not just here in Birmingham. They'll be at markets across the country, whether they are simply concrete barriers or more reinforced barriers as we've got here in the city today. We'll be asking people when it gets busier later on whether they are feeling safe coming to these markets today, and also whether they're going to be spending as much on Christmas. We know, the recent increase in energy bills has meant people have been thinking about budgeting more. We'll be finding all about that later on today.
We'll join you a bit later on in the programme then. Are we turning into a society where we have to have these barriers everywhere? You must remember Westminster before the barriers were there.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, the Palace of Westminster was on the main road, and it looked wonderful, and you could drive past.
It's like a fortress now. I mean, I oversaw those attacks in 2017, alluded to. I mean, it is shocking, but these things happen, then they act afterwards. So that's what's happening.
But the whole landscape of our cities and everything is going to be changing if we have to have barriers everywhere. But what else can we do?
Yeah.
Let's move on to domestic politics, because there's an awful lot about at the moment. We're joined by political commentator Piers Pottinger. Morning, Piers.
Morning,
There's a lot to talk about. Where should we start? Lord Mandelson.
Yes.
Is he or is he not an absolute moron, which is what he's been called by Trump's campaign chief?
I mean, there's so much that there's so many reasons why Mandelson should not be the ambassador. First of all, most recently, only 2 months ago, he had to step down as Deputy Chairman of the Bank of London when it was issued with a winding up order by HMRC. Then there's his very well-known connections to Jeffrey Epstein. Incidentally, both of these things he refuses to talk about. Then there's the fact that twice he had to resign as Secretary of State from the Cabinet. Then he was an EU Commissioner, and there's also a question of whether his pension of $30,000 a year as EU Commissioner in the past is now at stake because of his move to America. You've got all of these questions. Is he the right man? And I also think I've never really thought of him as much of a patriot, more interested in his own advancement. And he's not a civil servant. The only other political appointment recently was Peter Jay, who was then Jim Callaghan, the Prime Minister's son-in-law. And that was a nepotism and political.
Think, Piers, they are thinking outside the box with this appointment. You could have appointed a former spy, you could have appointed a civil servant, and then Trump would almost ignore them. You're trying to find someone who is political, who has a past. You know, he'll have to talk about Jeffrey Epstein at some point, Peter Mandelson.
And it's going to be more, because Trump has threatened to publish all the details on Epstein.
Yeah.
And also, the other thing, which I think is actually something very important, having lived and worked in America, I know that if you insult a president and you're a foreigner living in the country, it isn't popular. And it's not just with Trump and his brigade, it's with the business community, the social elite will shun him. And you know, he has said some very unpleasant things.
Already, Chris Lascivita, who is the who ran Trump's campaign, that's right, he says this UK government is special. We'll replace a professionally university respected AMBO, that's Dame Karen Pierce.
Yes, who's terrific.
You should stay at home sad. Now, we've heard from Nigel Farage, of course, the official Trump whisperer here. He says he's reserving judgment on the appointment. And, you know, Peter Mandelson will deny wrongdoing were he to speak today, but...
I'm sure he will.
It could be...
He's always... He courts controversy. And actually, you know, he's not a diplomat. And, again, I don't think it says much for the morale of the civil service. This is a plum job for the Foreign Office civil servants, and it's kind of the pinnacle. And for a politician to be moved in like this, particularly one who has made so many anti-American statements over the years. He's been very anti-American, and that is going to come out more and more, and I don't think that will do him or this country. The point is, he's supposed to be representing our interests, and I don't think he's the right man. I actually think Sue Gray would have been a better appointment.
Oh, but that wouldn't have been popular here.
Well, it would, because she'd been out of the country.
Yeah, I suppose. But I mean, but Lord Mandelson, no matter what you might think of him personally or politically, he's very experienced. I mean, he's been at the top level of politics since the days when he was one of the major architects of New Labour. So he's been all over the world, he's met everybody, and he is a charmer.
Yes, absolutely. But charm, as I know, doesn't get you everywhere. He's also courted controversy. I haven't mentioned Derry Paska, his connections to the Russian oligarchs, or Global Counsel, his PR firm that he refuses to talk about yet makes him millions per year.
The brass tacks, his job, surely, is to get a good trade deal. or at least stop trade tariffs going up on this country after January the 20th. He was the EU Trade Commissioner. He was a former business secretary.
Yeah.
Anyone in politics says he had a controversial associations in the past, but he could be the guy. And Trump is no whiter than white angel here. I mean, he's got his own history.
If he starts doing trade deals with the US, he puts his pension at risk. And I wonder whether he's prepared to do that, really. Also, I don't see him... He's never been a person who's been known for achieving a great deal in politics. He may know a lot of people, but if you look at his achievements, they're very few and far between.
OK, so rather than Sue Gray, I mean, is there anyone else you would have preferred to see get?
Well, I think the existing, Karen Pierce.
Well, there's no way Keir
she's admired.
The existing.
But she's a civil servant. You know, I mean, the point is she's a civil servant. And if you have a good ambassador in place, yeah, and that's why she'd be better than Mandelson, because they are much better at working on behalf of the country and supposedly impartial, although we know Sue Gray is a disruptor. And of course, I was saying that as a joke. But a civil servant, a proper diplomat, a trained, experienced diplomat. And I mean, as Trump's colleague who insulted back Mandelson, but he also said Karen Pierce is universally admired, and she is. She's built a relationship.
So far, she's, I assume, had a role in a meeting between Morgan McSweeney, who was the chief of staff to Starmer,
yes,
with
she'd have to be involved,
Trump.
yes.
The phone call on Wednesday.
Yeah.
The dinner in Trump Tower. I was there in Trump Tower ahead of that dinner. I asked Trump a question for GB News, and he said, I liked Keir Starmer, he's my kind of guy, possibly. So I think Dame Karen Pierce, since the election, has done some hard yards behind the scenes.
Yes, and I think just to replace her with an inexperienced a man who is not used to behaving as a civil servant. And as ambassador, he will come under the Civil Service Code, which could be very interesting to see about some of his myriad interests, how many he's actually going to come clean about.
They may go into a blind trust.
He's a man of mystery.
Well, let's have a look at some other stories
Master
coming
of the
up.
Dark arts. Yes, indeed. Piers, thank you very much indeed. Yeah, let's have a look at some of the other headlines of the day. And at least 1 in 4 NHS trusts in England raised the cost of parking for either patients, staff or both in the 2 years to March 24. That's according to new research that's out now. The increases have been criticised by patients' charities as it unfairly penalises people who are unwell, they say. Health experts have said hospital trusts are under huge financial pressure and can't afford to maintain car parks free of charge.
Today marks the winter solstice, when daylight will last for 7 hours and 49 minutes. We're seeing live pictures here of Stonehenge, where thousands of visitors are gathering to mark the event, which falls during this programme in the next hour.
At 9:21 precisely.
That's the moment at which summer starts to get nearer, thank goodness.
Yeah.
The ancient site has opened its monument field this morning, so crowds can see the sunrise over the iconic stones, and they look marvellous.
I'm glad they've let people near. And the Prince and Princess of Wales are going to launch a mental health programme in Sandringham. Collaborating with a local charity, the couple are funding a new pilot programme with Norfolk and Waveney Mind branch, which will provide additional mental health support for rural and farming communities. So let's catch up with the weather now. Here's Honor.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's the last weekend before Christmas and it is going to be fairly unsettled with rain and showers. Very strong winds at times, particularly across the far northwest where there is a yellow weather warning for wind in force. Across central and southern areas, quite cloudy as rain clears its way to the southeast. It is going to be clearer to the north of this, though plenty of blustery showers sweeping their way eastwards across the country. We could even see some hail and thunder mixed into these across northern areas and some snow mainly across hilly areas in Scotland. And those strong blustery northwesterly winds are really going to add on to the wind chill in the north, so feeling particularly chilly here, but largely mild in the south. Then to end the day on Saturday, still plenty of those blustery winds moving across coastal areas of Scotland, Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Still plenty of showers too. These still falling as snow across hills in Scotland, and fairly similar across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Still plenty of those blustery showers and those strong winds, particularly around coastal areas, but even inland, winds could still be fairly strong. A few showers around Wales and some outbreaks of rain just clearing the far south. So across the southeast, it should be largely dry to end the day on Saturday, but overnight we're going to see more and more of those showers move through across the country, still falling as snow across high ground in Scotland, perhaps also seeing some flurries of snow at times across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, and still very strong winds, that wind warning then extending across parts of Wales and the southwest by the time we reach Sunday morning. So a very blustery start to Sunday and feeling very chilly indeed in that brisk wind. Then through into Sunday, once again, another very unsettled day. It's going to be very windy across much of the country, particularly around western coast. Still plenty of these showers feeding through, merging into longer spells of rain at times across Scotland. Could also be heavy at times and still seeing that snow mainly across higher ground and feeling particularly cold in those brisk winds. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
I am enjoying your gingerbread so much.
I'll tell the girls at home. Pauline and Saf, I'll be tuning in, watching you eat it.
It's really nice. It's not just the usual in it, not just the cinnamon. There's something else.
Shall I find out what it is before the end of the show? OK,
it's really nice. It's that old-fashioned crumbly gingerbread. It's really nice.
Now, Christmas is coming and there's still plenty more of time to grab a chance to win our festive treat to you. An incredible £50,000 in cash. It's the biggest ever Great British giveaway here at GB News, and all of that tax-free cash could be yours in time for the New Year sales. Here's all the details you need.
There's just 4 sleeps till Christmas, and all through the land, GB News has the chance to win a nifty 50 grand. That's cash for the new year. You could go on a spree. And the best thing about it, it's totally tax-free. From Santa with love, you could be our winner. Just enter right now, or right after Christmas dinner. It's a cracker of a prize, guaranteed to enthrall. From all of us at GB News, Merry Christmas to you all.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck indeed. Do stay with us, because in a couple of moments we're going to be talking about the King and his ongoing cancer treatment. That's next.
I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
3 incredible young people from Essex are planning to become the youngest people ever to row, not sail, row, across the Atlantic Ocean.
It's about for 3,000 miles?
It is.
Give or take.
Almost exactly that, Sam.
The 3 flying fish, so-called, consists of Anna, Dunk, Harry, Alan and Rowan Daly, who are preparing to row that 3,000 miles across the Atlantic. It would be the 2nd largest ocean in the world, and the trio are aiming to do that challenge in support of the Teenage Cancer Trust.
Well, I'm very pleased to say that Anna and Harry from the Flying Fish join us now. Very good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
I think the 2 of you are bonkers, but brilliant. Absolutely incredible what you're doing to raise money for Teenage Cancer Trust. Why did you want to do this?
So our
our third person, Rowan, his friend actually died. So when he was in secondary school, I believe, one of his peers passed away, and Teenage Cancer supported them and their family a lot. So it was definitely the right charity. Yeah, it was.
Absolutely awful. So you wanted to do something to raise money for teenage cancer. Why rowing?
So my dad did it in 2021.
The trip, the Atlantic trip?
Yeah, he rowed it as a pair. Where we live in Essex, they actually build the boats there. So we used to cycle round there past the boatyard, and he got interested and actually did it. He was the first year after COVID. And one night, we all met in the Air Cadets, so one night after Air Cadets, Rowan actually dropped me off home and the boat was outside. We were obviously waiting to get it sold. And I think he was asking some questions, and we stood there at my porch and went, Rowan said, I reckon we could do that. And I was like, yeah, I reckon we could. And then we brought Harry on board, and that's kind of how it all came together.
If people are watching and they want to support you, do you have a
Yeah, we've got
GoFundMe page
social
yet?
media platforms at
Right.
The Free Flying Fish. That's Facebook, Instagram and TikTok, and our GoFundMe links in all of the bios on there.
Fantastic.
GB News, the People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, the King is feeling positive, that's great news, and is in good spirits as he joked he's still alive during a visit yesterday to Waltham Forest.
Yeah, now this all comes because he's going to make a full return to royal duties, apparently, next year, with reports of exciting national and international events in the new year.
Meanwhile, Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, is believed to be feeling dejected and has been refusing to walk his late mother's corgis.
That's an odd thing, isn't it, really? Because he loves the corgis.
Yes.
Anyway, it all follows the disgraced Duke of York's absence at Buckingham Palace's pre-Christmas lunch, after he, of course, was linked to this alleged Chinese spy.
We're joined now by the former royal correspondent at The Sun, Charles Ray. Charles, good morning.
Good morning and Merry Christmas to you both.
Merry Christmas. I'm very sad to hear that Prince Andrew is refusing to walk the corgis.
Well, honestly, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, Andrew is very much on Santa's naughty list, and he is acting like a spoilt brat who's just thrown his toys out of the pram and is now metaphorically kicking the corgis. It's ridiculous.
And of course,
I mean, he's not got... Sorry, Christopher.
Well, no, the reason why he has the corgis is the Queen gave them, didn't he, to his wife, the Duchess of York, to look after. That's why he has the corgis.
Yeah. I mean, there was a big thing about it. And let's not forget, he's got 5 other dogs there as well. So they've got to be walked too. And I'm not suggesting he or Fergie are doing all the walking. I mean, it is tradition for royal flunkies to look after the dogs as well. I mean, when the Queen had the corgis, there were flunkies around. But Andrew's got no purpose in life anymore. I mean, from what we've gathered, he does sit a lot of time on his sofa, just feeling sorry for himself. Well, he got himself into all these dramas and messes and everything else. I don't know what else he can expect. People do not want to see him out and about. They do not want to see him with other members of the royal family. And it's a shame, really, because, I mean, Christmas is a time for families. Yeah. We all know that. And the naughty uncle should be allowed to come in from the cold and everything else. But he just spoils his copybook all the time.
Is that because the press are getting at him all the time, or is it his fault? I suppose, who do you blame most?
You know better than that to blame the press for all this. I mean, we didn't go and have friendships with Jeffrey Epstein. We didn't go in and invite an alleged spy to come into the palaces and everything else. And we didn't sell our home, our wedding present home at Sunning Hill to a dodgy Kazakhstan businessman for £3 million over the odds. I mean, Andrew has got a track record of not doing things the right way and meeting all the wrong people. And I mean, I can tell you that when a member of the royal family comes across someone who is, found to be controversial and a bit dodgy and everything else, they drop them like a hot brick. They don't fly to New York and spend 5 days with them and say, we're not talking to you anymore. I mean, the press is there, and I think has reported it brilliantly, what he's been up to.
Very quickly, Charles, it's good to see the King doing well.
Absolutely, it's brilliant, and it's typical of him to sort of, when someone asks him about his health, to sort of say, "Well, I'm still alive." I mean, that's his sense of humour. It is great to see him like that, and best of luck and happy New Year to him for the future. He's got a lot on his plate in the future.
Yeah. 3 cheers to that. Well, thank you very much there, Charles Ray from The Sun, of course, in the old days. Now, still to come, Aidan McGee will be here, joined by former boxing promoter Frank Warren, to talk about the big fight tonight between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. That's next. This is GB News with me, Christopher Hope, and Anne Diamond.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
A Tesco store on a Scottish island has defied locals by ignoring pleas to stay closed on Sundays.
Tesco's has said that no member of staff in Stornoway would be forced to work on a Sunday and that it had received a significant amount of positive reaction to its plans.
Well, let's talk now to the Minister of the Reformed Presbyterian Church, Reverend Kenneth Stewart. Good morning to you, Reverend Stewart. You're trying to keep Sunday special, and if Tesco are going to open up, that means it won't be quite as special for you.
Well, yes, good morning, and thanks for having me on. Yes, Tesco, for some reason, they claim it's not economic advantage, but for some reason they've decided to go against hundreds of years of tradition on this island and the deeply held religious convictions of many, many people, including, of course, their own customers who are really grieved by this decision. We come obviously from the standpoint that a day of rest is effectively mandatory. It's a human right, along with the other 10 commandments which have undergirded our moral and legal fabric in society. It actually enshrines the human right to a day of rest. And of course, in the UK, that's been eroded for many, many years. Incidentally, it's still far more respected on the continent. But for us here, the Sabbath or the day of rest has been very, very important. It's not just what we do, it's who we are. And for some reason, Tesco have decided just to go against that.
And Reverend Stewart, we were actually talking about this earlier, how in European countries, I mean, even in France, which is a secular country, still very few shops will open on a Sunday.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
I'm Ellie Costello, and thank you so much for joining us here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello again, welcome back. Aidan McGee is here to tell us about the big fight tonight.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a TV audience globally of around 500 million people. It just doesn't bear thinking about, does it?
It's the second fight between... It's the second big fight, isn't it?
Yes, it is. They fought earlier this year. Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, the undisputed heavyweight title belts on the line. That'll be
and
the
an
WBO.
expected half a billion viewers.
Global TV audience, yeah.
Well, incredible.
We've got a chance of the first ever British undisputed champion for 30 years.
Yeah, Lennox Lewis, I believe, was the last one. But we've got some more insight to come as well. I'm delighted to say we can be joined over the phone by Tyson Fury's promoter, Frank Warren. Frank, great to have you this morning. Thanks very much indeed for joining us, and welcome to GB News. Just tell me, what can we expect tonight? Because I thought the first fight was a classic of the ages, really. So it's going to have to go some to beat that, isn't it?
Morning, Aidan. Yeah, I do. Well, I do believe what you're saying is correct, but I think the first round will be like the 13th round of the last fight. These guys are so evenly matched. It was such a close decision last time. There was a fag paper in it. And both of them, having shared the ring for 12 rounds with each other, in which was the heavyweight fight of the 21st century, the best two heavyweights out there. They know their strengths and weaknesses of each other, and it's going to be interesting to see how and who can capitalise on that, and how much the last fight has taken out of the both of them. But it's going to be a great fight. They're both in great shape, and if you look at them, they're so focused on it. I've never seen anything in my time in boxing with two guys on what we call a face-off, staring at each other for, I think it was 11 and a half minutes. Not one of them blinked or moved, and it was just that's how intense it is. They just won't give in even to that.
So, Frank, he'll have got this Usyk. This is a really good view of Tyson Fury's beard. What's going on with this? Because the boxing authorities cleared Tyson's beard last night, and yet Usyk's team are still saying that they're going to push this further. Surely that's gamesmanship on fight night, isn't it?
It's a lot of nonsense, really. He's got a beard and that's it. There's lots of fighters fights with beards these days. Years ago, they used to make people shave before fights, but that's not the case anymore. And first of all, the beard, the hair on the face, if the beard's long, it's softer than if it's a short beard. But there's no problem with it. There's no rules being broken or anything, Aidan.
And, Frank, what about the weight last night? I mean, Tyson Fury and Usyk came in at the highest weights, or the heaviest they've ever been for ahead of a big fight. I mean, does it suggest to anyone, or to you in particular, that Tyson Fury at that weight wants to get in and get the job done early, because it would be difficult to sustain that level of weight throughout the duration of the fight, surely?
Well, first of all, they both weighed in with their clothes on. They didn't. It was because it was at the weight. The weigh-in. Normally, fighters strip down, especially if you're lighter weights, you have to make a certain limit, so they strip down to their shorts. But as you can see, they didn't. They had their clothes on, so you can take that into consideration. They're not as heavy as the weight that was given, but Tyson is heavier than he's fought for quite a while, as is Usyk.
And what about the idea of Christmas boxing as well, Frank? Because I can't remember any fights of this magnitude at quite this level taking place this close to Christmas. It begs the question, has the fight game almost missed a trick for the last couple of decades? And is it something we can expect to see on the calendar many more times in years to come?
I think we have, but it was 27 years ago this week that Nassim Hamid fought at Madison Square Gardens. We did a show in Madison Square Gardens when he made his US debut. So that's how long ago it was. And obviously this time last year we did a show also out here in Saudi. But it's a great time of year for the boxing, and as you say, we get massive, really, really big audiences for it. So there's obviously obviously people like it.
Frank, it's Chris Hope in the studio with Anne. What might happen tonight, we could have an undisputed British world champion by tomorrow morning. It's a big moment in boxing, isn't it?
It is, and that's what we want. We hold a quarter of the belts in Britain, with Daniel Dubois holds the IBF version of the title, but these three belts are on the line tonight. And what I would like to see happen is obviously Tyson to win it. And if he does win it, there will then be a rubber match between him and Usyk, because Usyk won the last fight. And that would be probably next May. But, it's exciting times for heavyweight boxing, certainly exciting times for British heavyweight boxing. When I started off in the sport, British heavyweights, although some of them were really great fighters, none of them won world titles. They normally got defeated, whereas we've been very, very successful now. And Tyson tonight is carrying the flag, and hopefully he'll do the business.
Listen, Frank, thanks very much indeed for joining us this morning. We hope you're able to enjoy the fight just like the rest of us this evening. Thanks very much, and I hope to see you again at Arsenal very soon.
And we'll know the result this time tomorrow morning. Yeah, thank you all. Thank you all. We're going to take a quick break now because we need the newspapers in just a couple of moments.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Storm, Dini, so clears, but it remains often cloudy and sometimes windy around coastal areas, particularly for the Canary Islands and Madeira. A fairly strong northwesterly flow dragging in some cloud and some outbreaks of rain at times. Fairly settled across Portugal and Spain, but as we move further east, cloudy with some showers at times, particularly for Rome and at times parts of Greece. But it generally looks like it's improving by the time we reach the middle of the week, with the best of the temperatures across Madeira.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
I'm Patrick Christie's. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Apparently, in the Mail, page 5, hard-pressed bosses already having to deal with deadlines, red tape and staff who won't actually come into the office over Christmas. And they're saying that Christmas parties this year are going to be as lame as ever because everyone's afraid of basically getting cancelled or misbehaving or getting sacked for their behaviour. Would you risk it, Trey, at Christmas?
Do you know, I've actually never had a normal job in my life, so I wouldn't last a second because I'm not very politically correct. But it must be horrendous, really, because rather than enjoying yourself, you're having to completely always censor yourself. And it might be the most innocent of stuff that's said to someone that they then take offence to, which means you're going to probably just keep your mouth shut, which doesn't sound like the best of parties, does it, really?
No. Tricky one, isn't it? Because you're not at work, so it's not an office issue if, you know, some banter and it's taken the wrong way. But still, it's still a work environment, isn't it?
Yeah. If HR shows up, it's a work party. It's a work event.
HR shows up, I'm gone.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. And so even for us this year, first of all, it's the first year we're calling it a holiday party. I don't know how I felt about that.
Really? What, your company's doing that?
Yeah, they're calling it a holiday party.
Oh, no, well, no.
Yeah, I know. I voted against.
So they got rid of the word
Christmas.
Why?
Because we want to be inclusive.
How's it not inclusive to call it Christmas?
I know. Trust me.
Are you still going to go? I wouldn't bother going. I'd say no.
I am going to go, but I'm going to go dressed as Mrs. Claus, and it's going to be Christmassy, and I'm going to make sure that Christmas enters the door with me.
Yeah, you spread that Christian vibe.
100%. But outside of that, there is that element of HR showing up, and HR will be sober, and they've already prepped them to say, like, listen, this isn't your party. HR can have their party. This is your hangout.
Yeah.
Make sure everyone's being PC.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Right, let's look through the newspapers with Kevin Schofield and Emma Wolfe. And very good morning to you. And thank you very much for coming in looking like Rupert the Bear.
Oh, thank you, Anne. That's very kind.
Well, you didn't know until somebody tweeted you.
It wasn't the look I was going for, I have to say.
It may not be, but it's a very attractive and popular look.
It's the weekend country squire, which is who you are. Yes, I'm off to my
But tell us more about, in the
estate.
Times, it's warning us all to be careful how we talk to our teens around the Christmas dinner table.
Yes, obviously this week, Wednesday, Christmas Day, there'll be a lot of families together around the dinner table, all the generations, and it might be a little bit awkward. Older people try to speak to younger people. Yes. There's a bit of a kind of lost in translation vibe there. Anyway, a psychotherapist has come up with some advice, Dr. Aaron Ballack, on what to say and what not to say. What is it?
So what should you not say?
So don't say, what are you going to do if you find out you don't like your course / apprenticeship? It's quite negative. Or how are you going to get a job like that since so-and-so has always been so hard for you? I can see why you wouldn't want to say that. Anyway, what you're supposed to frame it in a positive way. So have you met people who inspire you? What sort of things about them did you like? And
If I turned to any of my boys when they were teenagers and said, what sort of people have you met that inspire you? I think they would just walk out.
Isn't that, I mean, someone says, if someone can get a job like that, why do you think you can get one? It's like, so rude. That's quite passive-aggressive, isn't it, over Christmas?
Well, I'm very cheered up at the thought that people will actually be talking to each other at the Christmas table, because I would have thought most teens are going to be staring at their phones.
Yeah.
Oh, no, don't you ban? It's the one
There should, no, of course there should be a ban.
Ban mobile phones
Really
at Christmas
unhappy
dinner.
that you have banned
So
them
can
from
I
looking
have
at
some? Can I have some advice? I'm finding the tricky question at the moment for a 4-year-old is asking me. So I've bought presents, but how can Santa be delivering them from Greenland when you've seen me in the shop buying the thing that you want? Like, how do you try and negotiate that?
4-year-old.
Father Christmas still exists. He still believes in Father Christmas. He's in Lapland, not Greenland. He's going to arrive on Christmas Day with all the presents, but so how do I explain that? Because I've just bought them. He's seen me carrying... Amazon are delivering them to the door. How am I explaining it all? They're sort of getting spirited into Mummy's bedroom. They're being hidden.
Well, you say nothing has to be explained at Christmas.
It's just the magic.
It's just the magic.
And Santa is real.
And
it's
you
the magic
can't
of
touch
Christmas.
those parcels
It's the magic.
until Christmas Day.
And but when you believe in Father Christmas like you should do, it doesn't matter. You'll just...
However, what you do is you change the subject then and you bring out the jelly.
Yes, jelly.
Because apparently jelly is going to enjoy a complete, rebirth.
The jelly is back. Yeah, all this retro food, it's all becoming incredibly trendy online, people tweeting, TikToking, all this. Apparently the jelly is the latest food to kind of come up. Sales of jelly cubes are up. Sales of antique jelly moulds.
Yes.
Very rude jelly moulds
There's one here
available.
at St Paul's Cathedral on
There are
page,
some very,
page 3 of The
very
Guardian.
strange jelly shapes. The phallic mould is
No, we don't want those.
extremely
We want
popular.
some nice ones.
Well,
But no,
St
apparently...
Paul's here.
That's a lovely one in The Guardian, yeah. But apparently jelly is kind of cheap, it's fun, it's retro,
It's easy
but it's
to
very
make.
adaptable. It's a vehicle for flavour, some of the top chefs are saying.
I hate fruit in it, though. Remember the old tin fruit?
Lots of fruit inside it.
You can have it in a trifle, can't you?
Oh,
Yeah.
I hate
Jelly,
trifle.
jelly in a trifle.
Yeah.
Oh, I love trifle.
No, it's all over.
Trifle's very
I'm leaving.
Christmassy, isn't it?
Trifle's very Christmas.
Okay, so get
jelly
out the
reminds
jelly
me of
moulds.
aspic and spam and things like that. I have to say I'm not a jelly fan. But I haven't had it for about, many
Jelly's
decades.
lovely. OK, so that's in The Guardian, but it's in The Guardian about jelly.
Weird.
OK, what else shall we look at? The King is in the Mirror. Well, he's everywhere, but he sort of yesterday joked, well, I'm still alive. And he looks it. He looks well.
Yeah.
They're saying he's still ongoing cancer treatment.
Yeah.
But then other experts are sort of saying that's pretty usual. I mean, we don't know what
they've obviously. The Royals have had an awful year, but he was very upbeat. He was meeting Charles and Camilla yesterday. Were at Waltham Forest meeting sort of community leaders and volunteers, and they were donating food and teddy bears and things like that from the palace. And apparently he was very sort of positive and upbeat. Royal insiders, whoever these people are, royal insiders have been saying that he's really looking forward to kind of making up for lost time and having a pact. Because he likes to work. He likes to... Well, people call it work. He likes to do a lot, doesn't he? He likes to take on a lot of engagements.
Yeah.
So he's looking forward to 2025. And he does sound and I think look quite positive.
He looks much better now. It was a couple of months ago when he'd just come back to doing public duties.
Yeah, he looked a bit peaky, didn't he?
Well, he's 76.
Yeah.
Let's not forget he's old. He's getting on, and he's doing the hard yards as he should do.
Watch it, you mustn't say that.
That's not old these days. 76 is just barely...
You can't say he's getting old.
Barely started.
I saw Paul McCartney last week, age 81.
I know, isn't
and he was
that amazing?
amazing.
Ringo Starr's 84, and he was on stage, played a couple of...
and they're still rocking around, weren't they?
Unbelievable.
Talking of great ages, tell us about the hero soldier, Mervyn Kirsch,
Oh, yeah, this
who
is
was 100.
Lovely, touching story, yeah. So he is a D-Day veteran and has just celebrated his 100th birthday, which I thought, he went ashore on Gold Beach in June 1944, and I think what he must have witnessed that day, if you told him then that he would reach 100, that is quite remarkable. And there's quite a haunting element to this as well, because he also helped to liberate Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. And, what he saw was awful, and he says that still haunts him.
So he's 100 and he got the well wishes from good wishes from
King and Queen.
the King. Brilliant.
Thank you. Time for the weather.
Thank you.
Time for the weather.
A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's the last weekend before Christmas and it is going to be fairly unsettled with rain and showers. Very strong winds at times, particularly across the far northwest where there is a yellow weather warning for wind in force. Across central and southern areas, quite cloudy as rain clears its way to the southeast. It is going to be clearer to the north of this, though plenty of blustery showers sweeping their way eastwards across the country. We could even see some hail and thunder mixed into these across northern areas and some snow mainly across hilly areas in Scotland. And those strong blustery northwesterly winds are really going to add on to the wind chill in the north, so feeling particularly chilly here, but largely mild in the south. Then to end the day on Saturday, still plenty of those blustery winds moving across coastal areas of Scotland, Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Still plenty of showers too, these still falling as snow across hills in Scotland, and fairly similar across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Still plenty of those blustery showers and those strong winds, particularly around coastal areas, but even inland, winds could still be fairly strong. A few showers around Wales and some outbreaks of rain just clearing the far south. So across the southeast, it should be largely dry to end the day on Saturday, but overnight we're going to see more and more of those showers move through across the country, still falling as snow across high ground in Scotland, perhaps also seeing some flurries of snow at times across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, and still very strong winds, that wind warning then extending across parts of Wales and the southwest by the time we reach Sunday morning. So a very blustery start to Sunday and feeling very chilly indeed in that brisk wind. Then through into Sunday, once again, another very unsettled day. It's going to be very windy across much of the country, particularly around western coast. Still plenty of these showers feeding through, merging into longer spells of rain at times across Scotland. Could also be heavy at times and still seeing that snow mainly across higher ground and feeling particularly cold in those brisk winds. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Christopher Hope. This is GB News, Britain's election channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now we're joined now by Sophia Viraji, the co-founder of the Aelia Foundation, which was created due to the tragic passing of her 8-month-old daughter to leukemia. The foundation is doing some incredible work for children's cancer.
Yeah, some really incredible stuff. They've just launched a PhD even, where they're funding young doctors to specialise in childhood cancer, as, get this, I wasn't aware of this, it's one of the most underfunded areas in the NHS. So not many sectors choose to go down that route, unfortunately. The charity, the foundation, have donated over £1 million worth of equipment to hospitals as well, and we're delighted to welcome Sophia. You've turned a tragedy and grief into triumph, I guess, and something so inspiring. Just tell us about that. Do you recognise that in yourself and the work you're doing?
Yeah, I'm here to always honour my daughter and to always continue her name, her legacy, and to support all of these other children fighting against childhood cancer.
It was all over social media. I mean, you were, at one point, probably one of the most famous families in this country because of Aelia and Aelia's fight. When you look back now at that time, does it give you comfort that you had so many people behind you?
Absolutely. The community that we have got, the humanity that we've seen in the UK and all around the world, in fact, has really touched my heart. And that kindness, love and support has always been the backbone of carrying me through this, to give me hope, to give me belief. And it still inspires me and encourages me till today to continue to do that, to show that light, to show that courage and bravery.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning. Christmas market carnage.
At least 2 dead and 68 injured after a car is driven at speed into a crowd in a German Christmas market.
Now, the suspect is believed to be a 50-year-old Saudi Arabian doctor and has been arrested. Mark White has the latest.
Well, the authorities have confirmed that one of those killed was a child. They are treating this as a deliberate and targeted attack.
Now, Sir Keir Starmer has nominated his former Chief of Staff and Advisor Sue Gray for a peerage. He's also put forward 30 people to join the House of Lords as Labour seeks to redress what it calls a serious imbalance in our second parliamentary chamber.
Today is the final day for pensioners to apply for pension credit in order to receive this year's winter fuel payment. And that, of course, follows the government's announcement that they're means testing that particular payment now.
Today is set to be the busiest shopping day of the year as shoppers take to the high streets for last-minute Christmas bargains. And Jack Carson is out and about chatting with those last-minute shoppers.
King Charles, meanwhile, jokes, "I'm still alive," on his last engagement before Christmas. This comes as aides insist there's been no change to his condition and his cancer treatment is moving in a positive direction.
Meanwhile, these are live pictures from Stonehenge, where it's the winter solstice, the shortest day and longest night of the year, here in the Northern Hemisphere.
Hello, good morning. Very unsettled for the last weekend before Christmas. We've got very strong winds, particularly around northwestern coasts, and also some rain and showers. I'll be here with all the details.
Well, it's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Christopher Hope.
And I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast. Have you ever been to the Royal Observatory at Greenwich?
I have not.
You've got to go, because that's where the Prime Meridian is, right?
Yes.
And if you stand on it, and it's there, you can stand on it, and then put one foot either side of it, half of you is in the Western Hemisphere, and half of you is in the Eastern Hemisphere.
Is that right?
Yeah. Isn't that fab?
And time matters today. Why does time matter?
Time matters because today is the official winter solstice, and that means it's the time, and it's exactly 9:21. That's why all those people are there at Stonehenge. At 9:21, you get to the scientific point where we get the longest night tonight of the year and the shortest day. In other words, that's when things flip over. And as we can see from these live pictures there, the people who built Stonehenge sort of knew it before us.
They knew what they're doing.
That's when, the Earth is turning in a way that we here in the Northern Hemisphere, we actually get... It's sort of when it flips over and where summer is nearer to us than winter.
Point. So it's chilly outside, but summer's getting nearer.
It won't feel like it, but that's when we flip over into summertime, if you like.
From 9:22 this morning.
Yeah.
So stay with us and just welcome the approach of summer, Anne.
It's a shame it's so cloudy, because it would be interesting to see where the sun actually shone in regard to Stonehenge. But yeah, 9:21, we will mark that point, because I think we need to. We need to look forward, don't we, to summer,
and I'm afraid,
instead of dwindling in this awful endless winter.
On as important news, I failed to find out what the secret ingredient is in Pollyanna's gingerbread.
Well, Pollyanna's gingerbread is pretty good, but it's not just the usual cinnamon. It's got other things in it, other herbs and spices, I think, which is really nice. So thank you very much. If you're thinking of things gingerbread, if you're thinking of maybe going out to the traditional Christmas market, I wonder if what happened overnight has changed your mind at all. Because sadly, we're beginning this morning with the news that, and it's official now, this is the official statistics, although, you know, goodness only knows what could happen. Numbers could change during the day. But so far, we're being told officially that 2 people have been killed and almost 70 injured after a car drove into the crowds at a German Christmas market last night.
That's right. The suspected attacker arrested at the scene is believed to be a 50-year-old doctor from Saudi Arabia.
Now, there's lots of images and video circulating online. I'm afraid the actual video of the incident is far too graphic to air publicly, but it does show a car being driven at high speed right into the people who are thronging around in the Christmas market, and the vehicle appears to be not slowing down.
Joining us now with the latest on this dreadful tragedy is our GB News Home and Security Editor, Mark White.
Good morning to you both. Yes, you were mentioning there, Anne, the numbers in terms of those killed and injured. Well, Germany's Bild newspaper is reporting this morning that the death toll has risen to 4, and as many as 86 people have been significantly injured by this incident. Now, we've got to treat that with a bit of caution, because last night when we were reporting on this, there were reports coming out of Germany of as many as 11 people that have died. Now, that might well be true in the fullness of time, but there's so much in the way of chaos and pandemonium that was at that scene overnight. It was described by one eyewitness at the scene as being like a war zone with bodies scattered everywhere, because that vehicle was driven at such high speed into this Christmas market and careered along the Christmas market for hundreds of meters before eventually coming to a halt around the corner from the Christmas market, and the driver arrested. We're told that that driver, a 50-year-old originally from Saudi Arabia, goes by the name of Taleb A. Now, as far as the German authorities are concerned, because of their laws around privacy, we never get the full surname. We only ever get the first initial of the surname. So Taleb A, 50-year-old doctor, we're told, came to Germany in 2006 and claimed asylum. He was eventually granted refugee status in 2016, and reports indicate that he worked at a hospital about just 26 miles from the scene of this terrible event. Authorities in Germany are treating this as a deliberate ramming attack on that Christmas market. The actual motivation, quite what the twisted logic behind this attack was, we do not know at this stage. Obviously, there are conflicting reports that are out there this morning, but a great deal of concern, because these Christmas markets in this city and elsewhere in Germany and indeed in Europe, there are vehicle mitigation barriers that they have around crowded places, concrete bollards, metal posts that are buried into the ground as well. But somehow this vehicle was able to negotiate that to get round these vehicle mitigation bollards and get into this market and drive at very high speed, causing the absolute carnage that we saw unfolding yesterday evening in Magdeburg.
OK, Mark, thanks very much indeed. Yes, it is worth pointing out that an expert was telling us a bit earlier that even in Magdeburg, they have put sort of bollards around that area, and it shouldn't have been penetrable, but it was. And we don't really know. I mean, obviously, there's so much more to find out. But we're joined now by security expert Stuart Crawford. Stuart, thank you for joining us. I mean, what more can we do to protect ordinary people, families out for a good time, enjoying a Christmas market? How better can we protect people from an attack like this?
Good morning. Well, aside from banning crowds of people in public places altogether, I think it's a very difficult problem to contemplate. I'm sure we can all think of places locally to where we live where crowds gather. I'm thinking of Edinburgh's Christmas market at the moment, which is slightly more difficult to get to because it's behind a fence and down a slope. But
not be the same motivation.
Yes, I think that's correct. I think that the Saudi doctor, if indeed it is him who's been alleged to carry out the attack, has some affiliation with opposition politicians and politics in Saudi, and also some affiliation, it's reported, with the right-wing German Democratic Party, the Alternative for Deutschland. So it doesn't look like a jihadist attack. It looks as if this is something quite different. But until the police carry out their investigation in full, I think we're just speculating. But it certainly doesn't look at the moment like it's jihadist inspired.
No, the trouble is everybody is online speculating, and there are some extreme opinions being speculated, and that can all be very damaging at the moment because we only know the facts that we know from the authorities, who aren't giving us all. I mean, they don't know it all yet, do they?
No, they won't. And I think that the danger is that it leads to an anti-immigration backlash in which people decide to take the law into their own hands. Everybody is entitled to have a view and express that view on immigration into Europe from elsewhere, and particularly into Germany, which has in many ways opened its borders to people coming from elsewhere. But we wouldn't want this to lead directly to an anti-immigration backlash, because there are all sorts of movements in that direction already in Germany.
And Stuart, I wonder what the reaction might be in the UK. I'm sure the security services are watching what happened there. They'll be worried about copycat attacks in this country. It's the busiest shopping weekend of the year. We've been saying already there are already Christmas markets around in this country. What might they be doing right now to keep us safe here?
Well, again, I come back to the fact that if there's no intelligence chatter, if you like, in social media or elsewhere, that this sort of thing is being planned, then it's very difficult to do anything, to mount any preventative measures apart from the obvious ones of bollards where they are appropriate. But we're not just talking about Christmas markets here. We're talking about anywhere there are crowds of people. And I'm thinking, again, in London, I'm sure Oxford Street is well protected. In Edinburgh, in Princes Street, in Glasgow, in Birmingham, it's almost impossible to cover all the options. And the best that the security services and police can do is make sure that their intelligence providers come up with early information if there's any indication that this might happen again.
OK, we'll leave it there, Stuart. Thanks very much indeed. And we'll turn instead to domestic politics, because there's a lot around, including the elevation of some to the House of Lords. We're joined by political commentator Piers Pottinger now. Morning, Piers.
Morning,
Richard has already emailed in and says the House of Lords is full of ex-politicians, men and women who haven't rocked the boat or who the electorate have actually rejected. How much money would it save if we abolished it?
Well, I mean, it is the largest second house in the world. There are so many people there now, and even more after the latest list. It seems now that Sue Gray has obviously got a peerage for services to disruption and backstabbing.
Actually, when you get a peerage, do they say what it is actually for?
They normally do say for services for some reason. I mean, the only one I admire is Toby Young, who is at least has been the preeminent spokesperson for freedom of speech and been almost single-handedly kept this at the forefront.
Yeah, I was going to say, remind everybody who Toby Young is.
Toby Young,
some people won't be familiar with that name.
Toby Young is a journalist, but also someone who founded the Freedom of Speech, or Free Speech Union, I think it's called, and he has been promoting that and attacking woke organisations who try and shut down people debating with different views, and the kind of people who'd like to see GB News shut down. Toby Young is an admirable person. Sue Gray has got a peerage really as a payoff by Keir Starmer, there's no question, because, I mean, she really hasn't done a great deal other than see off Boris Johnson.
Well, but she was a long time a second permanent secretary in the Cabinet Office. She had a long time, but she's getting it for political reasons.
She is.
I don't understand, Piers Pottinger, is this. 2 years ago, Keir Starmer says we want to get rid of the House of Lords. Replace it with a Senate or something elected group, and now he's getting rid of just 80 or so inherited positions, hereditary peers. But he's creating 30. So if you want to slim it down, why create 30 of your mates to go in?
Well, it's about balance, because he wants to make sure that now he's got enough Labour who, combined with Lib Dems, will be able to take on the Tories if it comes to a vote in the House that's crucial. That's why he's doing it. But I agree with you. And, of course, it's also the home of the Labour Party, or the Cabinet's Father Christmas, Lord Ali. And I wonder what he'll be giving all the Cabinet this Christmas.
We shall see. We shall see. We've got to wind it up there, Piers.
OK.
Because we've got to make sure that we are in Stonehenge for 9:21.
Of course.
We've got to move on. Thank you very much to Piers. And it's time now for the weather with Honor Krizik.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's the last weekend before Christmas and it is going to be fairly unsettled with rain and showers. Very strong winds at times, particularly across the far northwest where there is a yellow weather warning for wind in force. Across central and southern areas, quite cloudy as rain clears its way to the southeast. It is going to be clearer to the north of this, though plenty of blustery showers sweeping their way eastwards across the country. We could even see some hail and thunder mixed into these across northern areas and some snow mainly across hilly areas in Scotland. And those strong blustery northwesterly winds are really going to add on to the wind chill in the north, so feeling particularly chilly here, but largely mild in the south. Then to end the day on Saturday, still plenty of those blustery winds moving across coastal areas of Scotland, Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Still plenty of showers too, these still falling as snow across hills in Scotland, and fairly similar across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Still plenty of those blustery showers and those strong winds, particularly around coastal areas, but even inland, winds could still be fairly strong. A few showers around Wales and some outbreaks of rain just clearing the far south. So across the southeast, it should be largely dry to end the day on Saturday, but overnight we're going to see more and more of those showers move through across the country, still falling as snow across high ground in Scotland, perhaps also seeing some flurries of snow at times across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, and still very strong winds, that wind warning then extending across parts of Wales and the southwest by the time we reach Sunday morning. So a very blustery start to Sunday and feeling very chilly indeed in that brisk wind. Then through into Sunday, once again, another very unsettled day. It's going to be very windy across much of the country, particularly around western coast. Still plenty of these showers feeding through, merging into longer spells of rain at times across Scotland. Could also be heavy at times and still seeing that snow mainly across higher ground and feeling particularly cold in those brisk winds. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
OK, so I think today is the first day of Christmas week.
Yes, indeed.
But there is still plenty of time to grab a chance to win our festive treat to you, an incredible 50 grand in cash. It's the biggest ever Great British giveaway, and all of that tax-free cash could be yours, but you've got to be in it to win it, so here's how.
There's just 4 sleeps till Christmas and all through the land. GB News has the chance to win a nifty 50 grand. That's cash for the new year. You could go on a spree. And the best thing about it, it's totally tax-free. From Santa with love, you could be our winner. Just enter right now or right after Christmas dinner. It's a cracker of a prize, guaranteed to enthrall. From all of us at GB News, Merry Christmas to you all.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Now, on a slight change of pace this morning, a Christmas treat for you from my podcast, former Attorney General Sir Geoffrey Cox, reading Sir John Betjeman's Christmas classic.
Christmas by Sir John Betjeman. And London shops on Christmas Eve are strung with silver bells and flowers as hurrying clerks the city leave to pigeon-haunted classic towers. And marbled clouds go scudding by the many-steepled London sky. And girls in slacks remember Dad, and oafish louts remember Mum, and sleepless children's hearts are glad, and Christmas morning bells say, "Come," even to shining ones who dwell safe in the Dorchester Hotel.
Part 3 of that great poem,
It is a great poem, that one, yeah. And hasn't he got a wonderful voice?
It's amazing.
It's just made for poetry reading, isn't it? Now, the time is 9:20, which means that in about... No, it's 9:40. So, sorry, 9:20 and 40 seconds. Oh, I'm blethering now until I get up to 9:21. That's the point I'm trying to make, because at 9:21 exactly, it is the winter solstice, which is the time, the day of the year with the fewest hours of daylight. And we are going live now to Stonehenge, and as you can see, people, it is 9:21 exactly. People are gathering at Stonehenge and elsewhere across the world. Why? Because now we are nearer summer than we are winter.
Wow, what a moment looking out into the gloomy weather outside the curtains, and it's getting summer is now nearer than it was a minute ago, Anne.
Yeah, you can't see the sun, but it is directly over the Tropic of Capricorn right now. And that happens at 9:21 GMT in the UK.
That's right. The winter solstice is known as the hibernal solstice or the December solstice. It marks the shortest day of the year, as we said, in the northern hemisphere, and the first official day of winter. It occurs the same time each year, usually on this day.
It can't be the first day of winter.
Well, I think that means we're moving towards summer, you see.
First,
not the spring yet.
I'd rather look forward to summer and think that we're nearer summer than winter.
Now, according to English Heritage, the stone circle you're seeing there, Stonehenge, has no obvious practical purpose, they tell us. The site was not lived in and could not be defended, but it's believed these stones were moved to that spot around 2,500 before the birth of Christ.
Yeah, they were deliberately placed, though, to line up with the sun's movements during the two solstices. So today is very, very relevant, marking the changing of the seasons. And because of the connection with the sun's movement and due to burials which have been uncovered at the site, it is believed to have played a spiritual role. But we know, don't we, that at certain times the sun appears over different stones.
I want to know, Anne, why do they put those stones so near that main road?
Oh, I know. Very annoying, isn't it? Yeah.
And they were at one point.
They were at one point going to sort of do a tunnel underneath Stonehenge. But I think that's been stopped.
Why did the Druids think more obviously about to move it away from the road when they built it?
You'd think so, isn't it? It's the same as why they built Windsor Castle so near the M4.
Under the Heathrow flight path.
And Heathrow, yes, exactly.
Literally, no forethought from these Druids.
Nothing weirder than history, is there?
Anyway, summer is nearer, Anne.
Yeah, well, I feel it.
Should we have a celebratory gingerbread?
Yeah. Oh, the gingerbread you brought in is absolutely lovely.
Yes.
So, thanks for it.
And winter ends on March the 22nd.
So even though we're nearer summer, this is the first day of winter, and then winter ends 21st of March.
Yes, 21st of March, right.
OK, well, I'll be looking forward to that instead.
Still to come. Today is due to be the busiest shopping day of the year. We'll be telling you all about that next. This is GB News with me, Christopher Hope, and the legend Anne Diamond. I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
And the latest series of Big Brother has just wrapped up. And as always, the housemates managed to cause a stir.
Yeah, that's an understatement. After 5 weeks of drama and twists and turns, 6 housemates were left to battle it out for a £90,000 prize.
Well, our next guest was there to the bitter end, coming third in this year's competition.
6 weeks you were in there.
Oh, I tell you what, it was a long time.
What goes through your mind? Is it, do you start to go a bit sort of, what do they call it, cabin fever?
Yeah.
Do you go a bit nutty?
like, at times, not that I've ever been in prison, but I kind of likened it to being in jail, particularly when we were having to eat the porridge with water, no sugar, or, you know, that was difficult. And the feeling that you just can't leave. I mean, you can, but, you know, it was, yeah, it was
You
tough.
can, but you won't get your hands on that prize money.
No, exactly.
You made it to the end.
Yeah.
And it's quite a big house, isn't it?
Yes.
Do you feel as though you can get away from housemates if they're annoying you a bit, or does it feel like your hot house with people you don't like very much?
If you're sort of, you know, if you're not comfortable with a certain conversation or something like that, you can always take yourself and move away. But can you have time to yourself? No. Not really. I mean, even you might think, do you know what, I'll just go and lock myself in the toilet for a few minutes. There's a camera and there's a mic in there, so you can't escape that. And then you're obviously wearing a mic, so there is that little feeling of, you know, I could just do with having 5 minutes to myself, but you can't really get it.
You've met up with one side of the house, but not the other side yet. But is that still on the cards, do you think?
I hope so, yeah, because I liked every single person in that house, despite a few whispers on the internet, you know, like, do you not like this? I liked everybody in the house, never had a bad word with anybody, so...
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Right, today is going to be a very busy day. If you were thinking of staying at home and just sort of watching the telly all day, well, apparently that's not the thing to do. It's to go out and crazily get your last-minute shopping.
No point waiting for summer. It's winter to come first, but it's on the way. Now, this year, or last year, Brits spent nearly £5 billion between today, the 21st of December, and Christmas Eve, the 24th of December, and that shows that the boost in last-minute gift buying. But will Britain spend even more this year?
Well, we're joined now by GB News West Midlands reporter Jack Carson, who's out and about in Birmingham.
It's light.
Yeah, it's here. The lights come out. Have the people come out yet? I suppose it's a bit early for them, isn't it, Jack?
Well, I tell you what, both of you, this is actually the busiest Saturday morning that I've seen for a long time, and that's because the people that we've been speaking to already this morning are trying to beat the rush trying to beat the rush by coming early is creating their own mini rush of its own. But what they're really also trying to do, of course, is try and get a spot in the car parks around the city, because there's no doubt they're going to be very full, as we are expecting hundreds of thousands of people to descend on cities like Birmingham. Millions across the country, just under 40 million people expecting to be doing some last-minute Christmas shopping today. We're expecting around £3 billion to be spent. We've got the Bullring Shopping Centre, you can see here, people already going in there looking for those last-minute deals. There are some deals already started ahead of the Christmas period, but lots of people also looking to shop online. Today is one of the final days for a lot of online retailers that people can get their deliveries if they order online in time for Christmas. But you're looking at sales generally over retail, not a great start for many retailers, they're saying, in the first 2 weeks of December, so looking now really to make up for that lack of gain that they expected from poor retail in October and at the start of November. You can see here the Christmas market already being set up, people down the high street here in Birmingham already going about their Christmas shopping. We've been speaking to some people this morning. Have they done their shopping? Are they spending as much? Here's what they told us.
I'm saving it for my winter fuel because I'm a pensioner. Thanks to the government.
I don't have to buy for a lot, so I take every day as it is, and I don't spend a lot. So
a little bit less, I think.
No, thanks to Mr. Salma, £300. You know my feelings about that one. How can you morally justify taking money off people that kept this country afloat for 60 years?
That's what some people have been telling us in Birmingham this morning. Those pensioners are very unhappy that their winter fuel allowance has meant they're having to cut back on Christmas because they're having to save some of that extra money. And one gentleman I spoke to, when I asked him, had he done any Christmas shopping, he told me no. I said, are you going to be doing it today? He's leaving it until Christmas Eve because apparently that gives him a bit of adrenaline and that helps him do all of his shopping a little bit better. I'm certainly already planned myself. I don't want to go as late as that gentleman that I spoke to earlier was, but it is very busy already here in Birmingham. We showed you the barriers that are going to be protecting a lot of the shoppers here today, particularly in light of those attacks in Germany that we saw last night. West Midlands Police, we've already seen this morning on neighbourhood policing patrols. They've also got officers, specialist officers that are in or around the city looking for those people that might be looking to cause crime. They're protecting the shoppers today as we're expecting on this super weekend, that's what it's being called, millions of shoppers to be going out across the country for those last-minute Christmas bits.
Well, Jack Carston from Birmingham there, thank you. Now, during Advent, as we count down to Christmas Day, we're hearing from church ministers across the country. Each day, they give us a special message just for you to celebrate the festive season.
The GB News Advent Calendar, Day 21.
Hi, I'm Richard England, Vicar of Crofton Parish. It's just about the shortest day of the year. From here, imperceptibly, the days will start to get longer. There's quite a lot of winter left, but eventually the light will start to push out the dark. The Christmas story, like the turning of the seasons, reminds us that we are never hopeless. The first Christmas occurred in a world full of darkness, full of violence and oppression, a world longing for a brighter day. The star shining in the night pointed to a source of hope in our lives beyond our circumstances. If the Christmas story is true, then we're not alone in life. Whatever long nights of grief or sorrow we go through, there is another with us, for us, whose light and love can lead us through the darkest moments of our lives. Things may seem dark in your life, in our world. The nights may feel endless, but morning always comes. Light always returns.
Well, you can see all of our special Advent messages as Christmas approaches, only 4 days away, by visiting gbnews.com/Advent.
Still to come, as it is the winter solstice, we'll be speaking, hopefully, to King Arthur. That's next. This is
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Robert Walton has been jet-setting in recent weeks in Singapore for the YYY Awards and then back to London to host the inaugural Restaurant Association Awards.
Yep, and after many years in the industry, Robert also knows a thing or two about how to create the perfect Christmas. And it's all in the preparation. So we're going to be asking him about that as well. I'm delighted to say that the godfather of hospitality, Robert Walton, MBE, joins us now on the sofa.
Morning, Robert.
Robert,
Good
so
morning.
good to see you. And what a busy few weeks you have had. Yeah. Should we start with the YYY Awards? Because I think it's just wonderful who you celebrated at those awards.
So the YYY, young chef, young waiter, young mixologist. And it's a competition that's created around the world. So people from all around the world can apply. So this year we had 9 countries, from India to the Caribbean, from the USA to Scotland and England. And so we had 27 young professionals. The average age was about 24.
Wow.
All coming to Singapore. So we flew everyone to Singapore. We create what I call the Olympic Village. We create a little village for them, and it's in a very cool spot with great bars. And then we have the competition. And this year, I can now announce, I was here just a few weeks ago before we had the competition, that the USA won, which was absolutely incredible. Thailand was second. And gorgeous Wales was third.
Yes.
Well done, Wales.
Well done, Wales.
We now expect to have a good meal. There's no reason why you shouldn't have good food. The key now is the service, because there's no reason why you don't have good service. And good service is not that difficult. Smile, to start with. It really isn't that difficult. It's called hospitable. We call the industry, or the sector we look after is the hospitality industry, which is all about being hospitable.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Christopher. That's Chris Hope. And actually, are you Chris or Christopher?
Well, Christopher.
Christopher. OK, Christopher Hope. And me, Anne. Lovely to be with you. Now, your podcast... Well, tell me the story, because we're just about to hear Geoffrey Cox. It's Geoffrey Cox?
Yes,
yeah.
Sir Geoffrey Cox.
Sir Geoffrey Cox now, yeah. He's reading, and he has the most wonderful voice for reading poetry. But how did you even get him to read a poem for you?
I've been doing the podcast for quite a while, 3 or 4 years now, and I just got him in once to be on the podcast about Brexit, and his voice is so deep and gravelly. I said, will you read The Night Before Christmas? And he read it, and it went viral, and everyone played it all over the airwaves, I think before GB News started, actually. And since then, since Christmas, I've been getting him on to talk politics on my podcast and do these readings, and listening to him is like a hot bath.
It really
with
is.
a glass of mulled wine in your hand. I mean, it's something else. I mean...
bath with a glass of mulled wine.
So far, on this week's podcast, he's read from Robert Frost to JFK's favourite reading about Christmas. And he's also done a longer reading, John Betjeman's account of Christmas. And we've heard... so far, the first 2 parts.
Yes, if you've been with us all morning, you'll have heard the first 2 parts.
We are going to put these on the website later. They're on my podcast, Chopper's Political Podcast, wherever you get your podcast, tune in, and we'll try and make them available on our website later.
So now we're going to hear him read the end part of Christmas by Sir John Betjeman.
Christmas by Sir John Betjeman. And is it true? And is it true? This most tremendous tale of all, seen in a stained-glassed window's hue, a baby in an ox's stall. The maker of the stars and sea become a child on earth for me. And is it true? For if it is, no loving fingers tying strings around those tissued fripperies, the sweet and silly Christmas things, bath salts and inexpensive scent, and hideous tie, so kindly meant. No love that in a family dwells, no carolling in frosty air, nor all the steeple-shaking bells can with this single truth compare, that God was man in Palestine, and lives today in bread and wine.
Cox, a former Attorney General with quite a voice at Christmas.
Yeah, and just in case you're worried about what to buy anyone else at Christmas, take it from Sir John Betjeman. It's bath salts and inexpensive scent and hideous tie, so kindly meant.
Absolutely. Still to come, we'll be hearing the latest on the King's cancer treatment. But first, if you're in search of some winter sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
I hope it doesn't rain.
Don't worry about it.
It'll spoil our holiday.
Relax, we're totally covered.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Storm Dino so clears, but it remains often cloudy and sometimes windy around coastal areas, particularly for the Canary Islands and Madeira. A fairly strong northwesterly flow dragging in some cloud and some outbreaks of rain at times. Fairly settled across Portugal and Spain, but as we move further east, cloudy with some showers at times, particularly for Rome and at times parts of Greece. But it generally looks like it's improving by the time we reach the middle of the week, with the best of the temperatures across Madeira.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
There we are. Hope you can get away, if you are planning to get away. Might be difficult now. Still to come, we will be hearing what the King had to say at his last engagement before Christmas. You're watching and listening to GB News Breakfast.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, joining us now is Feng Shui expert Karina Sophia, who's going to share some of the best ways to ensure that our homes are still feeling calm as well as beautifully decorated this Christmas time.
One of the Feng Shui myths is that Feng Shui is all about moving furniture, and it isn't at all. Oh. Well, there is a little bit of that. It is about the flow of energy, but it starts outside, so there's lots of different forms of Feng Shui. So what we're going to talk about today is one form called Flying Stars Feng Shui, and there's another one that's classical, and form Feng Shui starts outside. If a 5-year-old would walk past your house and be happy, then the energy will.
I love that.
So if a 5-year-old would like to see more, would like to come in and would touch anything and not get hurt, then it's a good thing and the energy is feeling good and wants to come in as well.
What about the light colours? Does that matter? Does that come into play?
Yes, there are different colours. Depending on the direction, the compass direction of your home, there are good colours that support the energy inside the home. So if your home is facing north, for instance, then it would be sitting south, and the inherent energy of the south is fire. So you want to have a red or green, which is wood, that fuels the fire, and that supports the inside of the home. Now, I just painted my door red a couple of days ago, and then I got this opportunity, so don't underestimate it. You want to decorate your tree with whatever you want to manifest. Whatever it is that you want to bring into your life. So this speaks for itself. It
Joy.
says joy.
Oh.
And it has a little bell
I
on
like
it.
that idea. I can get on board with this. So you decorate your tree with things you'd like to see in your life.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're going to put some joy.
That would be nice.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with me, Christopher Hope, and Anne Diamond.
Yeah, actually, we were just talking in the break there about how wonderful poetry can be, and that we shouldn't forget how lovely poems are. And
Stirs the soul.
I was saying, yeah, that I was asked to do a reading at my niece's wedding about a month ago, and she said, "Will you do a reading?" And I said, "Yes. What do you want me to read?" And she said, "Oh no, you've got to choose." So I ended up pouring through so many poetry books and asking friends, and because you go on other people's recommendations as well. I came up with some lovely, lovely poems, and it was then very difficult to choose what was right and what was wrong.
Perhaps this Christmas, let's get in touch with poetry again.
I think so. Maybe in the new year, or do some. Poems have got to be, I suppose, nowadays quite short to get their point across. But if you've got any recommendations, let us know, actually.
Absolutely.
And maybe we'll set something up in the new year.
Pam Ayres cheers you up.
I loved a bit of Pam Ayres.
Ayres.
And Harold Wilson's wife, Mary, used to write poems.
Well, talking of feeling positive, the King is also feeling positive and in good spirits as he joked he's still alive during a Waltham Forest visit yesterday.
Yeah, and he did it jokily, and it was nice to hear from him. It comes as he's going to make a full return, apparently, to royal duties next year, with reports of exciting national and international events in the new year.
Meanwhile, Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, is believed to be feeling dejected and has been refusing to walk his late mother, the Queen's corgis.
Shock horror. It follows the disgraced Duke of York's absence at Buckingham Palace's pre-Christmas lunch, after, of course, he was linked to an alleged Chinese spy.
Now, earlier we spoke to former royal correspondent at the Sun newspaper, Charles Ray.
I mean, Andrew is very much on Santa's naughty list, and he is acting like a spoilt brat who's just thrown his toys out of the pram and is now metaphorically kicking the corgis. It's ridiculous.
And of course,
I mean, he's not got... Sorry, Christopher.
Well, no, the reason why he has the corgis is the Queen gave them, didn't he, to his wife, the Duchess of York, to look after. That's why he has the corgis.
Yeah. I mean, there was a big thing about it. And let's not forget, he's got 5 other dogs there as well. So they've got to be walked too. And I'm not suggesting he or Fergie are doing all the walking. I mean, it is traditional for royal flunkies to look after the dogs as well. I mean, when the Queen had the corgis, there were flunkies around. But Andrew's got no purpose in life anymore. I mean, from what we've gathered, he does sit a lot of time on his sofa, just feeling sorry for himself. Well, he got himself into all these dramas and messes and everything else. I don't know what else he can expect. People do not want to see him out and about. They do not want to see him with other members of the royal family. And it's a shame, really, because, I mean, Christmas is a time for families. Yeah. We all know that. And the naughty uncle should be allowed to come in from the cold and everything else. But he just spoils his copybook all the time.
Is that because the press are getting at him all the time, or is it his fault? I suppose, who do you blame most?
You know better than that to blame the press for all this. I mean, we didn't go and have friendships with Jeffrey Epstein. We didn't go and invite an alleged spy to come into the palaces and everything else. And we didn't sell our home, our wedding present home at Sunning Hill to a dodgy Kazakhstan businessman for £3 million over the odds. I mean, Andrew has got a track record of not doing things the right way and meeting all the wrong people. And I mean, I can tell you that when a member of the royal family comes across someone who is, found to be controversial and a bit dodgy and everything else, they drop them like a hot brick. They don't fly to New York and spend 5 days with them and say, we're not talking to you anymore. I mean, the press is there, and I think it has reported it brilliantly, what he's been up to.
Very quickly, Charles, it's good to see the King doing well.
Absolutely, it's brilliant, and it's typical of him to sort of, when someone asks him about his health, to sort of say, "Well, I'm still alive." I mean, that's his sense of humour. It is great to see him like that, and best of luck and happy New Year to him for the future. He's got a lot on his plate in the future.
Well, there you are. It was lovely to hear the King just sort of joking about his health, really, and looking well.
That's right.
I wonder have you heard what is the exciting thing that they're going to be doing in the new year?
No, they don't tell us much about movements in advance by the royalty, but we'll find out soon enough. Now, in a slight change of pace this morning, a Christmas treat for you from my podcast, Chopper's Political Podcast, former Attorney General Sir Geoffrey Cox reading Robert Frost's Stopping by Woods.
Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sound's the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. Oh, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I...
That was Geoffrey Cox there with Robert Frost, Stopping by Woods, John F. Kennedy's favourite poem, man.
Is that right? Actually, Hugh says, how can we get all the poems to share with others? Because it was wonderful.
Yeah, indeed. Well, they'll be on Twitter today, on GB News, at GB News on Twitter, on X, and we'll try and get them on the website
And then it'll
too.
be easy to share. Yeah.
And David says, love the good stories. Jeffrey Cox reading the poems, for example. More of this all year round. Perhaps you could rename our channel GB Life, apparently, with occasional bulletins. What's what that means? We're a news channel, aren't we?
Yes, we try to be. Jack says, morning, Christmas is easy. I've got 3 grown-up sons, so it's 3 Christmas cards with a few quid in, and then I sort a meal out. It's only a few £100 and no washing up. Job done.
Jackie says, amazing...
A few £100 in each Christmas card.
Is that right?
Well, I don't know.
Jackie says, amazing words by Sir John. Great poems, they stir the soul. North Easy Boy says, the ex-Attorney General has a fantastic storytelling voice.
Yes,
Love
he really
that rendition and the Advent messages.
Yeah.
Well, joining us now ahead of their show today, Saturday Morning Live, of course, our friends Ben, Leo and Miriam Cates.
Morning.
Before you start, I must give you one of my daughter Pollyanna's gingerbread men. There you
I
are.
can recommend wow, really nice.
70-year-old Ben.
What a treat.
We're going to be talking about gingerbread a bit later on, aren't we?
Yes, I think in the show we're going to be decorating some gingerbread biscuits. I think it's a competition. We've also got a competition who can gift wrap the best. I'm quite keen to win this.
I think you're going to trounce me. No competition there.
Isn't it a gender thing? Aren't women better at gift wrapping than men? They're just
I think women enjoy it more. I mean, certainly I look at the difference my sons and my daughter. My sons are not interested in wrapping anything, whereas my daughter's quite keen.
I can wrap, but it's very, very scrappy, to say the least.
My son uses carrier bags. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like not even bothering with wrapping them up.
On more serious matters, of course, we'll be turning our sights to Germany and the horrific incident that's happened there. And also, Sir Keir Starmer, he's chucking loads of people into the Lords, Sue Gray, not least. But can I just show you a clip from 2 years ago when the Prime Minister said this while he was in opposition?
Rebuild trust by reforming the centre of government, cleaning up sleaze, nourishing the relationship between central government and the devolved authorities, and replacing the unelected House of Lords with a new, smaller, democratically elected second chamber.
What happened there, Chopper?
Well, politics happened there. That's what happened there, Ben.
Maybe he's going to fight the House of Lords from within.
I think it's a difficult one to do quickly in a new government. That's what
already dominated by Labour anyway. This is the bane of the last government's
life. There's more
life.
Tories than Labour, but the crossbenchers, the crossbenchers make it more Labour-based.
The government kept the last government lost almost every vote in the House of Lords.
Is that right? Gosh.
Yeah.
And also, Lord Mandelson, US Ambassador, we have a clip of, you've probably heard it already, Peter Mandelson in times gone by calling Donald Trump a bully and a little short of a white nationalist. So, and overnight, I'm not sure if you saw, the campaign manager for Donald Trump's team called Mandelson an absolute moron.
Yeah.
Not a great start.
No.
Instead of trading trade deals, they're trading insults at the moment.
It is a bit pathetic,
isn't it? It is pathetic, really, and they'll get over it.
I think you need a different kind of ambassador to make that work, and he's the best chance we've got. I look at the list there, the spies who put up for it, the former civil servants. You need to be someone who thinks... I know he's got a history, Ben. I know he's got a history with politics and Brexit and so it goes on, but you need to be different.
The Trump team are asking why... I've forgotten her name, maybe you can remind me.
Dame Karen Pierce.
Yes, why the current AMBO can't just stand in place, because as far as I understand, she did a lot of groundwork connecting David Lammy to the...
She's done really... 5 months, done really well with the background stuff.
So, I mean, the question begs, if it ain't broke, why fix it?
I think they've got an eye to the trade deals as well, though, because the biggest threat to the UK from a Trump presidency is the option of being caught in these tariffs.
I think we have that.
I think we've got that clip of Lord Mandelson talking about Donald Trump.
With an American president who is little short of a white nationalist and racist. Even those who have a sneaking admiration for Donald Trump because of the strength of his personality nonetheless regard him as reckless and a danger to the world.
I kind of... When MPs say like David Lammy, that's pretty unforgivable, I think. When you're Lord Mandelson and you've left politics, you say things like that...
Well, J.D. Vance, the current vice president, compared him to Hitler. I mean, there's a lot of people who said some pretty spicy things about Trump in the past, aren't there?
But it's not going to be helpful, Ben, is it, for our relationship, possibly?
No, and as I said, I don't know why, if the current ambassador was doing a good job, what's the point of replacing her?
Because Keir Starmer wants to make his print on the world, doesn't he? He's flexing his muscles, is he not? He's not going to take what anyone in the last administration decided.
True.
Interesting times, eh?
Well, it's been an honour to present breakfast with you today, Anne.
Thank you
for having me.
Thank you very much
And
for
that's
being
it
here.
from us. Stay tuned, because
Happy
next...
Christmas to all.
Happy Christmas to you guys.
Because we are now deeply into Christmas week.
We are indeed.
I'll be back here tomorrow, though, making me work almost to the last moment.
Next up, Ben and Leo. Ben and Miriam with Saturday Morning Live.
Ben Mio.
Even though we'll see a cloudy